Hey guys, how's it going? We are Onscreen Offscreen and we're on episode 7. We've got a good list of topics to talk about today. Josh, let's start with your first one, no glasses 3D monitor. What is that?
So this is I saw Linus Tech Tips video on it. It's a new type of monitor screen. I wanted to ask if you saw the video that I sent to you about it. Um,
No.
you know, traditionally when you did 3D, when it was popular 20 years ago, you had to wear those dorky paper glasses. This is a 3D screen that you don't have to use glasses for.
That's pretty
It
freaking
it
cool.
uses two cameras at the bottom and top of the screen that uses your eye tracking technology to add the depth and 3D-ness to the monitor itself. So it's very cool technology. It's extremely expensive right now. Uh, Linus said he hoped it would save the 3D kind of technology because we've gone away from that. Um, What do you think? Just based off of that, if it's as as cool as it sounds to you, is it going to save that technology?
I just it does sound cool. And I've liked some of the 3D movies, but to me, 3D feels more like an experience and kind of a luxury. I get to go to the theater, I enjoy this 3D. I don't know if I'd really love it all the time, and I don't know if it would get enough of a audience to really make it worth developing for that 3D space. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So, NVIDIA and AMD have both developed technologies to make it compatible with existing stuff.
That's cool.
So, it's
Existing
not like
stuff filmed
games,
in 3D, so
movies. No, just stuff.
you could play I don't know, Elden Ring and have it pop up 3D.
Yeah.
That
Right now,
is
the list of
sick.
Right now, the titles that it currently supports is small, but they are working on technologies to make it compatible with most things.
That's sweet. Is there any, because when you have a VR headset, different things like that, a lot of people will get sick. I know that's kind of it's a different technology. It's not the same thing. Is there any side effects to this that are known right now?
Not. I just watched the one Linus Tech Tips video, and I did not hear anything about that. Um, I just think that it's not going to save the technology because it is really expensive um, to get into. Um, and I feel like most people, when talking about 3D gaming, would just do VR instead.
That's kind of what I think too, but if this doesn't get people sick, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. I I would play more VR if it didn't get me sick.
Right, but you're a small minority of people.
I thought it was the majority of people got sick. I thought it was the minority that didn't.
No, like the majority of people get sick in those games that make me sick, the ones with the motion,
Okay.
but the majority of people don't get sick when you're just standing still, and it's like 50-50 with teleport. Um,
Okay.
but like you're taking all of gamers, you're narrowing it down to a small percentage of people who care about the 3D aspect of it. And then you're narrowing it down even further because you have to take out all the people like myself that would prefer VR over just a 3D screen simply because VR is an actual experience, whereas a 3D screen I feel like is something that's like, oh, that's cool.
But that's about it. Where VR,
Yeah,
you
I'd
just get
say,
sucked in for sure.
hey, come check this out. I'd be so excited to show it off, and you'd come and see it, and you'd be like, that's so cool. How much did it cost? And I'll be like, oh, the screen? It was like 6 grand. And you'd be like, oh,
What price do
cool,
you
but not 6 grand cool.
what price do you think would be acceptable? I'm looking at one right now, and Lenovo is going to release a 3D monitor. It looks like in January for 3,000.
I think you would really have to be at a competitive price point, right? So
Okay.
you're talking about the Alienware Quantum Dot OLED screen that's 36 inches, ultra wide, 4K, HDR glory. You'd have to be around that price range,
Okay.
right? You'd have to be able to say, okay, do I want OLED HDR or do I want 3D?
3D.
That's
You'd
the
have to,
conversation you'd have to have. It wouldn't be, do I want to spend twice as much to get something that's going to work 1/20th of the time that the OLED's going to work or the HDR's going to work or
and
the higher
OLED is
refresh rate?
super, super impressive in the higher refresh rate. We we'll get into it with Arcane, but I've got a nice 4K, good solid TV, and then I've got an OLED, beautiful high HDR monitor, and compared the two. I compared the exact same thing scene in the 4K versus the nice HDR OLED, and the nice HDR OLED looks so good, like so good. It would be hard to get rid of that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really where you'd have to get it, and I don't think there's going to be enough people buying into it in the first place to get it down to that point. So that's the big hurdle for the technology is how do you suck enough people into it to drive those costs down to keep
Yeah,
developing it.
and you don't
So
have the buy factor, but you also don't have the competitors. Like people still bought the Apple Vision Pro. A lot of people still bought that product, even though there's a lot of competitors that are significantly cheaper that do 90% of what that does.
right, but that is a you have a larger audience for that. You also have an existing client base for that,
Mm,
and this is a highly competitive market because it's not just Lenovo that's developing these screens. You know, Samsung has their panel version,
that's true.
LG has theirs, you just mentioned Lenovo has theirs. So you have even four of these big monitor panel companies
Companies.
going into it, and you're starting off the consumers with 3 grand, 6 grand, whatever the number
That's a lot to
is,
ask for.
more than twice the top of the line monitor you can own.
Yeah, and you could get a pretty ridiculous setup, like full setup, monitor, everything, the tower, all of it for 3 grand.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I could have the top of the line monitor and the world's best PC almost for that amount of money.
Yeah, that's a lot
Especially
to ask
like
for.
Black Friday's next week. Like
Yeah,
I could almost undercut it for that price point. So it's a small client base, 5 companies fighting over that small group of people. That's gonna drive prices up, not down. So, and you're just not gonna get the backing and the investment in developing it further to drive those prices down. So, to me, I think it's gonna be a niche thing, and I don't think 3D is going away. I don't think it's dead. I do think that there's enough of a market in 3D, and it's a cool enough technology. I think it's just gonna fluctuate. I think we're in our
I
second little burn of it where people are getting into it again.
I wonder. I kind of think it'll keep going too, but without things like Avatar, I thought it would have died a long time ago. But that was just so impressive, and people loved it so much. But I don't see people running out and buying TVs to wear the glasses, even though it looks Avatar does look amazing. It looks incredible. I still just don't see people going doing that.
Right, but
There's a
that's
reason the
where
TV's kind of
3D is
failed.
gonna survive, and I think that theaters are also going to kind of survive on that technology. Because there are enough people, including myself, somebody who hates theaters, but if I'm going to go to a theater, why not have the 3D experience?
Yeah, it's unique.
Why not pay that extra few bucks and get that extra little bit, you know? So that's where I think you're gonna have flow herbs and flows of 3D technology where it's gonna come in. It's going to be a little bit of a thing. It's going to try and gain some traction, then it's going to die off, and then there's going to be a next thing in 3D um, to kind of bring it back to life a little bit. But I don't think you're ever going to hit the highs of Spy Kids 3D ever again.
I don't think so either.
But
I don't think so either. Very cool. Well, my first topic is the Mike Tyson fight. And man, was that I don't know. It's disappointing, man. I I do not like the Paul brothers at all. I don't think most people like the Paul brothers. They literally kind of built a brand off of not being likable. I I had hope for Mike Tyson. I had watched preliminary fight training videos that he's done, and all of it looked really, really good. It looked like, yeah, he's old, he's moving a little slower, but he's still got it. And you have the first fight. It's a fight with a social media star, and he's just trying it out. It's kind of fine that it wasn't great. Whatever, not that big a deal. Then you have two fights in a row that are fantastic, really, really good. You have the Barros and the Ramos fight, and they just go back to forth. It is a brawl, back and forth, just go, 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 go. I was like, yeah, come on. And I would have been fine with either of them winning that fight. It would have been totally cool. They both deserved it. What a battle. And then you have the Taylor fight and the Serrano fight. Um, and Taylor, in my opinion, throws some garbage. She does a headbutt and it splits Serrano above the eye. Have you watched any of it at all? Okay,
no.
splits right above the eye, and multiple times Taylor is grabbing onto her and rubbing her head into that cut. And technically, it's not. She barely skirts kind of around the rules, and I thought it was really, really crooked. I thought Serrano should have won that fight. Taylor's the one who took that victory. But she just keeps skirting those rules. And after the whole thing is done, Serrano's coach gets on the mic and just calls her out. And she's like, Taylor just keeps doing this exact same thing. She keeps cutting right above the eye and rubbing it over and over and over again. Fight after fight after fight. When are we going to stop this crap and dethrone Taylor? And I want to fight again. And I want Serrano to just smash her into the ground. Um, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But then you get to the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. Everybody's been waiting for it, and this was Netflix's first major sporting live event, and they weren't ready for it at all. If you go online and you read people's thoughts on the fight, everybody had bad streaming. I thought my internet was down because it was so slow and so choppy. It was just because Netflix couldn't handle the traffic. But then you watch the fight, and it looks like Mike forgot to use his legs, and he has two rounds where he does okay, and then he's just kind of hobbling around stage, and it was sad. It was sad. I've liked fighting my whole life. I did martial arts when I was a kid, and it's one of the few things that I really enjoyed watching. And watching old Mike Tyson videos, he's just a beast. I was talking to a buddy, and it's like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson are kind of the two that people know. And Muhammad Ali floats on the stage. Literally, he just dances, and he dances different than anybody else probably ever will and ever has. He floats around, and you'll watch slow mo of Muhammad Ali, and his opponent will go for the punch, and Muhammad will be a centimeter away, back up, and then just throw around and hit his opponent right in the face. It's amazing to see. Just absolute artistry as far as sports goes. It's incredible. Tyson was like a bulldog. He was like a troll, and he didn't care if he got punched. You could punch him in the face. It didn't matter. He was going to absolutely smash you. And I wanted to see Mike Tyson do some of that. Some where I don't care if you punch me, Jake. Doesn't matter. I'm going to take you down. I didn't think he was going to win, but I wanted some moment of Mike Tyson. And really, we just got old guy and Jake Paul, who doesn't want to look like an asshole, smashing old guy. So let's both just collect a giant paycheck. And I mean, good for Mike Tyson. He made $20 million off of 15 minutes. Way to go. But I was hoping for more.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to pause here. I'm going to cut this out. Will you go turn on your light?
Yeah, totally. That
Thanks.
better?
That's much better. Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Especially later. You just got darker and darker and darker last time, and I forgot to tell you before we started.
Okay.
Okay. Back in now though. Okay. So here's what I know about the Mike Tyson fight. I know that everybody had poor streaming quality. The memes about it have actually been pretty funny,
They have been.
especially with Netflix trying to take on more of these live things after this fight.
Yeah.
Uh, Everybody's been making fun of it. I know that it was not close and it was kind of sad. And I know that Mike Tyson, I lost a lot of respect for him because I saw a clip of an interview talking about how Jake Paul, is that the right one?
Yeah.
Um, Stomped on and injured his foot before the fight during the photo op. You're talking about how he's kind of limping around a little bit and not up to speed. Maybe that contributed to that, and it was kind of a dirty move by Jake Paul. But from my perspective, you're fighting. You,
He wasn't moving like someone who had a hurt foot. He was moving like someone who couldn't move his legs anymore. It was a different kind of movement. With a hurt
okay.
foot, you're kind of hobbling, and it was both of his legs just. It was like it was an old man stumble. That's what it was.
Well, I mean,
Unfortunately.
you also lose that hop a little bit as you get older. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was it. Maybe it contributed. I have no idea. I didn't watch it. I had no opinions about it. I am not a Jake Paul fan. I don't have much of an opinion about the brother. Uh, I wanted Mike Tyson to punch him in the face because the only thing I really know about Jake Paul is him trying to build a boxing career and doing it in just terrible, stupid ways and not ever really doing any real fights and picking people he can just win and
But he's
just
also gotten
stupid
to
stuff
fight
like
some
that.
like just top names in the industry. Top names. And now McGregor. McGregor is wanting to fight him too. I think McGregor would absolutely destroy Jake Paul. Like wreck him. But it bugs me that he is this social media influencer, so he gets to do things that a lot of people have trained their entire lives to do. Like he got to fight Mike Tyson. He for real. And I know it was a terrible fight, but it's freaking Mike Tyson. Most people would kill for that. Most people would kill just to stand in a ring with him. And he gets to do that. It kind of sucks, to be completely honest. It kind of sucks.
I don't think so. I mean, do you fault for Dwayne the Rock Johnson for how he got to where he is?
Explain what you mean more.
So he went into the NFL for a couple of years, decided it wasn't him, went and did WWE, decided that wasn't it, but used his popularity to start getting roles.
Okay.
He
No,
didn't go through the work. He didn't go through and get rejection after rejection after rejection. He didn't have to go through and have people stare at him as he read lines and do all of that stuff over and over and over again. He went out there and was like, I'm Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I'm worth, I don't even know, I'm going to throw out a number, $15 million right now. You can tell through that I have stage presence because all of this stuff is scripted anyway. And put me in your movie. And of course he got that role, right? That's guaranteed new audience plus, name recognition plus cheap, So like I don't fault Jake Paul for using his social media presence to gain that. I actually respect the fact that he wants to box. I wish boxing was a respectable sport so it was more competitive and people actually respected it, but because it is fighting and because all of the other fighting things are scripted, I think it's kind of dragged down by that. Um, but
I kind of disagree with that last part. I think boxing's not as popular as it used to be for sure, absolutely. But MMA just keeps growing year after year after year. People love MMA. MMA is huge.
yeah, but scripted.
MMA is not scripted. What are you talking about?
Yes, it is. It
No, it's
so
not.
is.
Not
What
at
was the big
all.
fight like 3 years ago where the guy lost and won $60 million, and if he had won, he won 20?
I don't think MMA is scripted, but I'm gonna look it up right now. I
Uh,
watched.
I think that's just awfully a coincidence, and I'm pretty sure people have talked about it, these fights and things being scripted. Um, I know the like most
Yeah,
scripted one, the one that everything is scripted in, is WWE. But
WWE is super scripted for sure.
yeah, um, I think there are aspects to MMA that is scripted. I don't think every single movement is scripted, but I do think that very often they will plan out a winner. Um,
I don't think the fight is scripted with MMA. Some of the like crap talking beforehand that might be scripted. I don't know,
that
but
is
I
one
don't think
thousand
the
percent
fights are with
scripted.
MMA.
Don't even, that 100% is scripted. Uh, I've seen enough to know that, or to feel like I don't think the fight itself is scripted, but I feel like, wow, it's awfully convenient that that guy was utterly destroying the other guy and then got knocked out in the last 2 seconds and happened to win more money than if he had won the fight. Oh man. Oh, and the
Dude,
network made more money because of it. And oh,
there,
the coaches made more money. Everybody's making more money because that just happened to go that way. Who'd have thunk? Oh my gosh, what a coincidence. Uh,
there might be
yeah,
some of that, but I don't think it's super common with
I
MMA.
think
I
it is. I
I don't think
As
so.
soon as you get to the point where it's televised, oh yeah, I bet. Any, yeah. Anyway, neither here nor there. Getting into it, that's just my perspective, my opinion. It's not fact. It's very much my opinion. Um, but you just have. I largely blame WWE because it is the biggest, um, and it is completely scripted. And boxing isn't WWE. It's not tied to it in any way. They're not on the same network, even, I don't think. But people like me feel like if one's scripted, they're all scripted.
That's
And that's not
an
why I want to join
interesting point of
sports.
view, man. That is an interesting point of view. I wonder how common of a thought process that is, because I could see that being a big thing. I have never ever thought MMA was scripted. I've always known WWE is, but it's kind of like a WWE thing. I would be interested in the comments below if you have ever had that thought process, or if you know somebody that's had that thought process. I genuinely want to know.
Okay, but there's a big difference between me and you,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You're in the space. You did MMA. You have a lot more respect for the industry because you participated in it and you're more involved in it, right? Like how would you feel if you found out that the NFL was scripted?
That would be rough, for real. I would,
Wouldn't it cross your mind? Well,
yeah.
maybe the NBA, maybe the MLB is scripted. Wow, that was an awfully clutch win there in the NHL. Maybe that was scripted. Like, wouldn't that kind of cross a little bit?
It would. It would. That's a good point, for real. And you would
Yeah.
wonder what other, because if they could script something that big, and WWE, I was just looking at viewership numbers, and it is significantly higher than the others. Um,
It's getting a
it would
resurgence too. It's getting more
it
popular.
would be shift. Yeah, dude, that's a good point. I
Yeah.
genuinely, anybody watching, leave that in the comments. I would like to know.
Yeah. So it's just it's hard. It's hard to separate it. I mean, like for me, if I found out the NFL was scripted, I wouldn't have as hard of a time with it because I don't care as much. But like a lot of people would start to feel, oh well, college football is definitely scripted then. You know, it's
If it was scripted, I would not watch the NFL anymore at all. I'd be
yeah,
done.
yeah, for sure. So I just think that like it's scripted. Boxing is by far the one of the hardest fighting things to observe and get into because you're talking about points and this, that, and the other, and there's a few really big hits, but most of the time
It's little jabs.
yeah, and
You
so
dancing around.
you know I have a lot of respect for it personally because I do have like a lot of respect for those who do it. I think it's one of the most challenging and underappreciated things.
For sure.
Um, so yeah, I don't fault Jake Paul for saying I want to be a boxer. I don't fault Jake Paul for using his influence to get on that stage. I don't fault Jake Paul because of his social media presence. He was able to finance his training and to get in shape and to do all of those things. What I fault Jake Paul for was it was like his first like 10 fights or something. He picked like the most beat up, wimpiest, loserist fighters in the industry just so he could come out and say, I went 10-0 just to start my boxing career. Not
He did
even
do
Mike
that.
Tyson did that. And everybody's like, you beat up some old people and a guy with a broken leg. Congratulations. Like,
Good
what
job,
are you
man. He still
talking
thinks he's
about,
so
dude?
great. I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think that yeah, Mike Tyson being a little bit whiny about it did make me lose a little bit of respect for him. Um, I do wish that boxing was more on the forefront, and I hope that like all sports was more interested in the integrity of the sport rather than the spectacle of it.
Me too.
Because those to me are the sports that have gotten the biggest and stood the test of time. Like golf is on every Sunday.
And it will be for a very, very, very long time to come.
Yeah, and I feel like it's because they're interested in the integrity of the sport. I think the
Yeah.
people running the NFL are interested in the integrity of the sport, the NBA, the NHL. I do have that faith in them. But when it comes to these fighting sports, it's like, well, we'll throw a fight. Okay, well, we'll throw a okay, well, let's get the numbers. We need the viewers, so we're going to do what's most entertaining and
And it's also it
like
is a harder fight to understand, for sure. Well, you brought up that point. The more that I'm into golf, the more I kind of enjoy watching these little clips of golfers.
yeah,
With boxing, I had to explain to Sydney, my wife, how do they score? Because it's not obvious how they score at all.
yeah,
What counts as something good? What counts as something bad? Why is this even impressive when you have? I like to think of a fight as a chess match, um, and you are trying to position your opponent to move in the way that you want them to for your next move, and they're trying to do the same thing to you, and you're playing that back and forth. And
right.
if you don't understand that, it just looks like two people are punching each other in the face. And why would you want to watch that?
And bouncing and spinning in
And
circles and yeah.
that looks
And
like all that's going on.
it's very much the same for a lot of fighting things. Like I tried to watch competitive karate because of Brandon. I have a close
Okay.
friend starting a dojo. He started to learn BJJ. I went and watched his competition in person, had a lot of fun, tried learning more about it and trying to experience it as a viewer. and it's just hard from the outside. You don't understand all the rules. Commentating doesn't really explain it a lot. Um, it's so fast, right? Like a round is like 2 minutes, maybe, and you just don't understand what's going on. Like, I don't watch fencing in the Olympics, and I understand the basic rules of fencing, but it's so quick and it's just not entertaining enough. There's not enough going on. I have a lot of respect for fencers. I have a lot of respect for people who can fight, but I wish it would at least have the respect um, that it deserves, even if it doesn't get the viewers.
That's cool,
So,
man. That's cool. Well, let's go to your second topic. What do we got?
so my second topic is my podcast I have been obsessed with literally all week. Um,
Okay.
it's not really a podcast. It's a radio show from 10 years ago where this guy, Jubal, has people email into him and say, "Hey, I went on this date. I had a really good time, but they're not calling me back. Will you call them and find out why?" So
I've
Jubal
actually
calls
seen
the
this.
number. Yeah, it's really popular right now. It's gotten really big. Uh, it's on my TikTok. Like every other video is Brooke and Jubal in the morning does second date update and all this kinds of stuff.
It's hilarious.
It's amazing. I've been listening to like every single episode. I found a playlist on YouTube where it just plays episode after episode after episode of just the second date updates. And man, the drama and the things people do. Holy crap. Like, let's be real for a moment. There is a culture out there that I have never understood. And it's that guys are always liars and manipulators, and they're just going to gaslight you into doing terrible things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And from my perspective, I believe like most people are good. I've only met and known some like good people in my life. Like, I've never met somebody who wanted some basic stuff so badly that they would push you and lie so bad. In
Me
this
either.
episode of Brooke and Jubal's second date update, they call this guy and say, "Hey, you went on a date with this girl. I'm hoping you remember her because you bought a dog for her. You guys have a dog together."
Okay.
And this guy was like, "Susie, Alice," and they're like, "What? No." And so they give him the name and they get into it, and this guy's like, "Oh yeah, that's my move. Every girl will give it up to you if you get them a dog. So I have this
That's
friend at
crazy.
the pet store, and I take him and we get a dog, and then I just take the dog back to the pet store in the morning, right?" And so this girl is listening to him admit to all of this stuff, and I'm sitting there like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane. This is gonna blow up. She's gonna absolutely lose it with him." And then they do that part where Jubal says, "Well, you can now address this with them directly because guess what? They've been listening in on the other line this entire time. Say hi, Brooke," or whatever the girl's name was. And so she starts yelling at him and calling him a piece of crap and all this kinds of stuff. And he goes, "No, no, no, you misunderstood. No, I was it was stuffed dogs for those other girls. I got you a real dog and I would love to take you out again." And she goes, but and slowly you can see it coming down and the radio show hosts are like, "Lady, he is gaslighting you. Stop it. This is bad. He is lying to you." They are saying this to her and she's still like, "You really had a good time with me? I, I was really special." And then they do the part at the end of the show and they're like, "Well, do you want to go out on a second date with this person? We will pay for it." And she says yes. And he says yes. And the radio shows are like, "No, insane. No, this is bad. This is a terrible thing. You should not be doing this. And then she goes, I'm so excited. And then that's how it ends. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's real. This stuff really happens. Oh my gosh. Just some of the most insane dates and insane things happening, and the absolutely insane drama. I have been absolutely obsessed with these videos for like a week now. Um, and it's just crazy. It is absolutely insane, and it's almost unbelievable how crazy these people are.
Yeah, I remember listening to those. I haven't listened to them in a long time, but there was one that came on that was like that situation where you're like, there's no way this was real. So I looked it up online to see if it was real, and he said sometimes they get call-ins that are like the person just wants to be on the radio, but a lot of them are real, and it blew my mind. I didn't think they would be.
Well, they do a second date update where once in a while they'll reach out to listeners and just see how it went and see if they repaired the relationship or whatever. And sometimes you find out that, oh, they got engaged or they got pregnant or so happy for them or whatever. So, like, I know at least some of these people are real. There was another crazy one where this girl used her friend's name and said that they went on a date just so that she could get on the radio and ask Jubal out on a date, and was giving off the like biggest stalker vibes of all time. And he was like, I'm in a relationship. If you listen to this show, you know that I'm dating somebody and we're happy together. And it was really funny because he was like, okay, do you want to go on a second date with Jubal? We will pay for it. And she was like, yes, 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 I'm so excited. And he was like, hold on, I gotta ask. Hey, Jubal, would you like to go on a second date? And he's like, no, Jubal, I would not. I am in a happy, loving relationship. And oh, it's like I said, I have been just listening to these end over end forever. They're so funny and they're so sad and they're just it's so addicting. I just keep scrolling through and listening to so many of them.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool, cool, cool. All right, let's get into Arcane season 2. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
You
I
have
know that's
a problem
on your list
with
too.
episode 3 and you're
I
so
did.
wrong. That's just a terrible opinion. I would love to hear what your issue could possibly have been.
I don't get it, honestly. I was looking at through a lot of reviews, and it looks like there were a couple people that agreed with me, but not very many. My thought is the first season is completely and extremely well written. Everything about it is extremely well written. Um,
Yep.
there's no problems that I had with it. This season has a couple of issues that
Nope.
seem okay. Um, one, in the first season they have these music videos, and they're really really cool. You have these fight scenes, they're choreographed to music, they're awesome. I never felt like the music video of the show pulled me out of the show. This one has a couple scenes where it has so much pop music that it kind of pulls me out a little bit. And these are all little nitpicks. I'm gonna bring up the little stuff first. Um,
Okay.
it pulls me out a little bit from the show. It's not a huge deal, but it is something. I think the animation quality is a little bit lower. Again, small, but
Nope.
I think it's a little bit.
Nope. Okay. I will
Um,
give you that first perspective. I actually agree with you on that first point.
okay, okay.
Okay. I do think that it's a little bit much. It never pulled me out of the show, but on my second watch of part 1, I was like, okay, like we really don't need this to be a music video. Uh
Yeah.
like this could be a scene, like an actual scene. And I love the funeral scene.
The funeral
It's
scene was great.
amazing.
fantastic,
but
for real.
I don't think it needed to necessarily be a music video like it was. But having it that one time wasn't a problem. It's that it did keep happening. So I will give you that point, but agree that it is a small point.
It is a small point. It doesn't. Nothing about what I'm saying ruins the show. I still
Yep,
think it's good. I just don't think it is as good as season one, or
I
really even
disagree.
close.
So
Um,
the animation, you're insane. The funeral
I
scene alone. Yeah,
it's
they took it
really
in a
really good.
different direction, but oh my gosh, is it astoundingly gorgeous.
But is there anything like that? Jinx Elko's his name, right? I believe
Echo?
that's his name. Echo scene. There's nothing like that. I'm sorry, it's nothing even close. And there's multiple other scenes from season one that are just better by every metric. They're just better.
I wouldn't call it better. Because to me, the
Really?
funeral scene, animation wise, is a 10 out of 10.
Okay. Okay.
The Jinx Echo scene is also a 10 out of 10. But
I.
also from season 2, you have the scene where Jinx paints the city. That is a 10 out of 10.
It's a cool scene for sure. For
Well,
sure.
we're talking
I
about the
don't.
animation. The animation
I'm
is a
talking
10
about,
out of
yeah, the
10.
animation. You have that scene where in the first season where Jinx is on the tower and she's holding it up. That
Yep,
really really great scene.
yep.
it, I would compare those two scenes, and I'm sorry, the season one is better. It's a better animated scene.
I disagree. I think it
Really?
holds
Okay.
more emotional weight. If you're talking about the way the scene feels and how much impact the scene has, there's a
But
number
part of
from
the
season one.
impact is the animation.
No, no,
Like
we're
the
talking
one time
the
in this,
animation.
there were two times in this season so far that I've really been impressed with the animation. The first one was the funeral scene. It is good. They do a good job with it. The
It's
second
amazing.
one is where Jinx is fighting um, the Beast, who is her father, whatever her dad's name was. I can't remember her dad's name. Those two
Vander,
scenes, very, very good.
Warwick, if you
Yes.
want to go with the character name.
But other than that, and even those two, I'm not, and this is not me saying it's not good. It's still well above average for any animation, for sure. But is this as good as season one? I don't think so.
Okay, so if you'll let me talk,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
okay? So we're talking about the animation, just how it looks,
Mhm.
right?
Just how it looks.
It definitely does not take a step down. It is the same animation. Everything is beautiful. It's astounding. Still 2D, 3D, still do all that kind of stuff. I mean, talk about the scene where Jinx goes pow and the smoke says pow with the little girl. Visually is astounding. Okay? So if we're talking about the animation itself, which is what I thought we were talking about,
Yeah, for sure.
there's definitely not a step down. Okay? If we're talking
Okay.
about like scenes as a whole, right? Like their meaning, their impact, what they symbolize, um, the crossover between certain things connecting in the way that the characters move or what they do. Uh, there's a lot of that in season one for sure, where you go, okay, that's powerful, right? That has a lot of impact to the story. You have
That'll bring me to
Jinx
my
with
next
the
point.
smoke, right? You absolutely have that, but you still have that in season two, right? Like you still have those moments that are astoundingly amazing, gorgeous shots and scenes and feel impactful and are great. And I can't tell you the one because it's the newest episode at the very end.
I've
But
seen all 6 episodes.
oh, I thought you said you hadn't caught up yet to
That's
the last
for Cobra
episode.
Kai. I've caught up with
Oh, okay.
Arcane completely.
Okay. Yeah, the little girl with the gun up, the little girl with the smoke up, just like Jinx did. The city painted pink and blue. The absolute, like, the eye colors of Vi and Jinx
So I'll
Holy
actually,
crap.
since you're bringing that up, that's actually where I was going to do the comparison between the OLED screen and the normal 4K TV. The 4K TV, with particularly Jinx, her eyes in the OLED HDR are a different color. And that was astounding. As far as the color scheme goes, it's amazing. If you have the chance to have an OLED HDR screen, just watch it on there. It's very, very cool. I feel like you're reacting to the fact that I don't think it's as good as season one. Not that I don't think it's good, because it is still good. Anyone that says it's not good is an idiot.
I am
Obviously,
reacting
stupid.
to the fact that you say it's not as good as season one because it is as good as season one.
But I don't think it is.
It is. And 99% of people out in the world agree with me.
That's
I
fair.
have literally seen, the picture of the flaming horse that is like season one, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Season two, one, two,
Episode
three,
three,
four, five,
four,
six.
five,
And
six.
every start part of that horse is drawn beautifully, amazing, evenly. And I agree with that.
Okay,
Like
that's totally fair.
I don't see how you see that differently. I agree with you. Nitpick. There is a little bit too much music video ish stuff. It, from the outside, I could look at that and say, well, clearly that artist just got a free music video, and that's why that's in there. Um, but to say the animation isn't good, that's just wrong. To talk
That's why I
about
said
scenes
it's.
is just
I didn't say
not
it wasn't
true.
good, man. I didn't say it wasn't good.
Okay, not as good. You're just wrong. It is as good.
I'm talking.
Everything, like,
Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up because it's like a go from a 10 best animation you can to like a 9. Like it's still fantastic. Very small thing. That's why I said nitpick.
I
Very small
understand
thing.
what you're saying. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
like I said, it was a very small thing the way they went from the intro music of episode one
Mhm.
directly into the music video that was supposed to be the funeral scene.
Yeah.
And they didn't let the viewer get back into it. I know you disagree with that. That's fine. Like I said, that was a very, very minor nitpick. I understand that that's what you're saying. I'm saying you're wrong.
Okay, that's totally fine, man. Um, now I'll get into some of the things that bug me more. Um, so you have in I think it's episode 2 this like Avengers Caitlyn gets everybody together scene, and woohoo, you have the Avengers scene. Awesome. This show, in my opinion, season 2 has a kind of a pacing problem, but it's not really a pacing problem. It's a cut problem. In the first season, you're with this character for a long enough time that you have the emotional impact because you're with that character. You're following that event. It's pushing forward. In this one, it feels more jumbled. You're like here, and then you're here, and then you're here, and then you're here, and then you're here, and you don't get as much of the compact connectivity. But you mix that with the fact that you have this Avengers scene that's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. But the Avengers break up in like 2 minutes, and it's because Caitlyn and Vi are just gonna go out and screw up and do what they've already learned not to do. It's stupid. It's a stupid thing to do. I actually really didn't like it at all. So they break up, and then they go and they fight. They go and they fight Jinx. Well, you already know that Jinx is very, very smart, which is another thing I'll bring up later in the show. But you don't bring all the arsenal you can to take down Jinx, which you've decided is worth taking down at this point. Vi has decided that Jinx is Jinx. Jinx is the crazy person. Jinx is the psycho. Jinx is the evil one, and we need to take down Jinx. I'm going to side with Caitlyn. But we don't actually just go forward with the full plan with the full group to do that. Then you have the fight scene that everybody seems to love, but a little girl gets in the way and they can't just pull off the little girl and shoot her. There is a gap underneath the little girl, and Caitlyn is a master sniper, and they can't just shoot Jinx in the face. It's bad writing, and it's a hole that they should not have gotten themselves into. It doesn't make a lot of sense. During the fight, Vi, who is like a professional boxer the entire show, she is fantastic at punching things in the face, doesn't punch Jinx. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Now I'm going to go to a thing that I actually like about that scene. After this is all over with this, in my opinion, not very good writing, um, you have this moment where Caitlyn hits Vi in the stomach, and I love that scene. It references back to where Vi pushes Powder off, hits Powder, and then Powder goes dark. I loved the reference back and forth. I think that's really, really cool. But it's surrounded by all this other stuff that just doesn't make sense to me.
Are you ready to hear why you're wrong again?
Absolutely.
I loved the fight scene. Uh, Animation beautiful, music is great as per usual.
Okay.
Writing and impact is astounding. Um, I think it makes total sense that the quote unquote Avengers, as you call them, is fine and makes sense. Their sole purpose was not to go for Jinx. They were doing a lot of things while going into the Undercity. Um, and them carrying off the other bad guys is something that they would have to do. So I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. And they're minor characters. So still not causing any problems there. Let's talk about the little kids scene. The thing that I think is so powerful about this fight scene itself is as it goes along, you can see Vi and Caitlyn both crossing that line of sanity further and further and further, and they are both losing more and more control. Then you have this extreme outburst of emotion where Caitlyn breaks free from her conflict, and you have Vi about to humble Jinx, kill her, essentially. And then all of the sudden, there is this girl who has already been established as a reference to younger Powder and Vi. Every single time she is shown, when she meets Jinx, she is a direct reference to young Vi. Direct. The
Absolutely.
eyes match, the attitude matches, the character matches. It is supposed to remind Jinx of Vi.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as she becomes closer to Jinx, she becomes more like Jinx. And lo and behold, out of nowhere pops Powder
Yeah.
in front of Vi in this raw moment of absolute emotion and nothing else going on.
Okay.
And so Vi says, I have crossed the line. I need to stop. And Caitlyn decides, I'm willing to kill a child to accomplish my task. And so you have the conflict between Vi and Caitlyn. Okay. That kid is also in this pure emotional moment trying to be protective, almost killing Vi. And you can see that emotion in Jinx's eyes of, I didn't want this to happen. I expected to die. I wanted to die in this moment. This is how I wanted it to go. But I don't want this girl hurt for me. I don't want this girl doing this. And you have that switch of Jinx choosing sanity. And you have Vi choosing sanity. And you have Caitlyn choosing insanity. It's beautifully animated. I get it. I can see, oh, Caitlyn's a master sniper, and that girl is, you know, there's a gap. But what is that little girl gonna do the second she hears the gun go off?
She won't be able to react. It's going to hit before anything. That shoots so. It's a freaking magic laser thing. Like, no, no, I don't
Yeah,
buy that at all.
hold on. Would you let
Okay,
me
go ahead.
finish what I'm talking about? If you're
Yeah,
just gonna
dude.
make assumptions? Jeez. She's gonna shoot Vi in the face. Like, you could make the argument, sure, she'll hit Jinx, but Vi is gonna die then. Or she could move. There's a lot of things that could happen, right? And I get what you're saying. I have this problem all the time when you have this expert marksman in this show and the other guy is cornered and he takes a hostage and he holds the gun to the hostage's head like this, and you go, that master sniper is so gonna blow that guy's head off, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
But the difference between those moments and this one is the emotion of it, right? It's not that Caitlyn couldn't make that shot or wouldn't make that shot. It's that Caitlyn was choosing to take the life of a child, an innocent child, in order to achieve this goal, this task. And Vi, waking up and choosing sanity, recognizes that that's not Caitlyn, and she would hate that decision for the rest of her life.
And I think that that's a good point. But to me, Jinx already made the choice. When in the last episode, she chooses to be Jinx. And she goes and she climbs up and she shoots that rocket. She made a choice.
Yep,
She started on a path.
yep.
And because of that, Caitlyn and Vi both decide she has become the villain. We need to take out the villain. Another thing, this kind of is required for me to make my full point, but Jinx, because she's decided to become Jinx, she's not hearing the voices anymore, or she can quiet the voices or something. Where did the voices go? I also thought that didn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't think the voices just came because she's conflicted about whether she's Powder or she's Jinx. Because there's a point where Vi's not back in her life and she's still hearing these voices. She's still got the insanity. So they don't just quiet out of nowhere. She'd still have insanity. All of these characters are on this trajectory, on this pathway, and smart writing would keep them on this pathway unless something changes it. And you know what? I can see
Like a
her
little girl.
their dad coming back. I can see the little girl actually causing some kind of changes there. But I don't see it happening for Vi, especially when Vi is a master fighter. She's very, very quick. A girl points a gun in her face and she doesn't just grab the gun and grab the little girl and move her out of the way. I don't think that that would happen. Even when she's seeing a smaller version of Powder, she wants to protect that Powder. She doesn't want to protect Jinx. She believes fully that Powder is dead and Jinx is the only one left, and Jinx needs to go. So why in the world is she still protecting Jinx? That lesson is over. It's done. So you got a problem with Jinx's character at this point, in my opinion, because she's decided she is Jinx, and she should still have these voices, and she should still be mad, and she should be more clever than she is, because I feel like the entire fight scene, she's not herself. She was a lot smarter in the season one than she is in that fight scene, in my opinion. She's a lot more crafty, a lot more clever, a lot more quick on her feet, all of these different things. You have a problem with Vi because she is this master boxer who isn't boxing, and she doesn't take the chance to just move a little girl out of the way and protect Powder and not protect Jinx, who she thinks is basically Powder dead. And you have Caitlyn, who is a master sniper who doesn't take the shot, who hates Jinx at this point in time. She had problems with her mom, but it's still her mom. And she has to take care of this society. She has to take care of her country. She's in a new state of mind. She is ready to kill. That's why she shoots Jinx in the finger. She is ready to kill. She's ready to kill a little girl. You're right. She is at that point and she doesn't take the shot. To me, it's a scene that has problems with every single character except for that little girl.
Okay. So you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I don't care how good of a fighter you are, Conlon. You are a much better fighter than me. You've done MMA. What are you going to do if I put a gun to your face?
Uh, Someone who's fought that much and fought around guns that much, she would strip that gun in a second, like that. It would be
No.
actually
No,
instant.
what did I just ask you?
If so, I
You know
I'm
I'm
gonna
a very peaceful person. You know that I don't get into conflict. It would be an extremely emotional moment for me to put a gun to your face. What would you do?
so if I was in training all the time, which Vi is, she's in training constantly. Someone who is like that, if you're in the military, before you even think about it, you are stripping that gun out of someone's hand. That is what they're trained to do. Vi would immediately, not, I don't think there's a second thought about it. I think it would be before her brain actually caught up with it. The gun would be out of her hand and gone.
I completely disagree with you.
That's, we should go ask people who are in the military. I do not buy that. It would be gone out of her hand so fast. I don't care what her emotional state is. I don't think you'd be able to hit the emotions before that gun was gone.
I absolutely think that you do. They do train to do that, but they don't train that to be your instinct in that moment. Because most times that you go to do that, no matter how fast you are, the gun goes off.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Especially when the person holding the gun has their finger on the trigger. The gun most often goes off. It might shoot to the side.
It might go
It
off and
might
shoot to the
shoot
side.
past your head. It
There's
might shoot
possible,
you in the face. It might shoot them.
but the
It's not
reaction
that
is
natural
to
of an
get the
instinct.
gun gone.
So you have this moment
Yeah.
where Vi is arguing with herself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you say to her, powder is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Powder is gone. There is no more powder. I disagree with that fully. I think that she as a character wants to do that, but when you're that close to somebody, when you have a sibling, there's a part of you that doesn't want to believe that they're gone. Never completely. Right? No matter how bad they betray you or how bad that person hurts you, you've lost two brothers. Is you telling me there's not a part of you that wouldn't love to see them walk through the door,
Absolutely, for sure.
but you believe fully that they're gone? But here you have this moment between Vi and Jinx where Vi knows ahead of time she might not be able to put that killing blow in and tells Caitlyn that and puts her in place to do it because she knows that she can't do it. She still knows deep down that she holds that hope. And then out of nowhere, there is a gun pointing in your face, and that girl looks like powder.
Which
It's a
brings back
beautiful
my
storytelling. It's
other.
amazing. And here is my final point about Caitlyn, quote unquote, not taking the shot. She did take the shot. She hit Vi because Vi got in the way and stopped it.
So here's where I go back to my other point. If Vi was that self-aware, why in the world were the Avengers broken up in an episode? If she is that self-aware and she knows what she's going to do, she needs all the help that she can possibly get. And instead of getting all that help, she turns it away. That is stupid.
It's a minor thing to me. Uh, like I said, the whole group wasn't going to kill Jinx in the first place. They were doing a lot of things that they were trying to do,
That's
right?
the
The
whole
whole
reason
selling
that
point.
Caitlyn formed the group. That is the reason she formed the group, was
Would
to
you go
take out
back and
Jinx.
watch the episode?
Yeah, I did. I watched it twice.
Okay. She goes into the room and says, We are going to take out Jinx. We are going to dismantle Shimmer, and we are going to remove all the other leaders in the Undercity.
Yes, but
She
her
makes a
main
list of
objective
4 things she's going to do, and they
first
are doing
objective
those
is
other
kill
things.
Jinx. First objective is kill Jinx. Is Jinx. That is what their main thing is. In Caitlyn's head, that is the fire that they need to put out. Is kill Jinx. Maybe that's not completely right. Maybe there's more that needs to be done. But that is goal number 1. Why would you disband the group before you finish goal number 1?
Because that's not goal number 1. Caitlyn
Totally
is
is.
dealing with grief, but it is not their only goal. They are not tunnel visioned like this, of we only have to do this one thing. They are doing
The
a
group.
whole lot of things. So them taking the other guys to prison is okay. And let me remind you again, these are minor characters. Pulling them out of the fight doesn't change anything.
It matters to the whole story and logic of the story.
No, it doesn't.
It
It
absolutely
it,
does.
it impacts the story in a good way. How would you, as a commander, right? Caitlyn is taking over the Overcity. She's becoming the new emperor, right? She's doing this Julius Caesar move, right?
Hmm?
Okay. She is selling herself as doing these things. How would she be able to gain that power if she said, well, I'm not going to really do all of those things because this one's more important to me?
But it was more important to her. That's why she went
Doesn't
with
matter.
Vi to go and hunt down Jinx. Like you're arguing about these two different things, but the problem is her action set says my most important thing is to kill Jinx.
Yeah, for her.
So she would
She's
keep the
there.
group and do the best that she can. And if she's moving into this leadership position, then she would, as a leader, be like, I love Vi. I love Vi. But Vi herself has said she might not be able to do this. Maybe I should be a leader and bring an actual group that can get this done. Honestly, as she loves her, and that's why she's bringing Vi. But really, if she was stepping completely into that leadership mold, she'd be like, Vi, I don't think you can do this. And I just need to go with this other group, and I'm sorry. And if Vi showed up and stopped the whole thing, I actually think that's a completely different story. But her character actions don't make sense.
They do. She decides that this is personal, and it's personal for her, and it's personal for Vi, and it's not personal for the rest of them. So the rest of them are going to take care of what they need to take care of, and her and Vi are going to go take care of this personal beef that they have. Honestly, it's more believable that she would leave them behind even to do nothing because she wouldn't want them getting in the way or taking the kill from her or causing issues or more chaos or more unknowns to happen in that scenario.
So if this is a SEAL team type group, you're all extremely well trained. You trust each other. You know that you're all trained. You know that you're
Okay?
all great.
Timeout.
You're going to bring
Timeout.
that. Yeah,
Timeout. Not a SEAL team. They
they're
barely know
all.
each other. They don't trust each other. They haven't built a bond. They have been together a week,
So you have
if that.
Vi who's not in this group, in this commander. Well, I can't remember what her group is called. Um, their military group, the one that killed Vi's parents, and she was worried about joining. Blah 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 blah. They've all been under the same training. And when you're inside of an organization like that, the training is harsh, it's demanding, and you require trusting people who are part of that group, even if you don't know them. Go ahead.
These aren't the military.
They are the military
No,
for
they're not.
the.
They're not. They're
What are they?
100% not. They're law enforcement. They're the cops. You have the cops forming a pseudo SWAT team at the last minute. You don't have an army. That was the whole argument of why they needed this small force in the first place, is because they didn't have an army.
Good point.
You have a bunch of cops, and you have some skilled ones. You have Caitlyn, you have Vi if she decides to join up, and you have these other guys who, in the face of danger during the funeral, didn't back down. But you don't have a bond with them. You have not been training with these people. There's no military camp. These are
There's definitely
just
some kind of cop
cops.
camp for
Yeah, there
sure.
is. There is, but a military camp is very different
There
than
is a difference
becoming a
there. I will
cop,
give you that. There
right?
is a difference there for
It
sure.
you don't have that bond, you don't have that brotherhood already
And we
existing. You
don't
have
know how
this
close
group.
Caitlyn was to these other members. There is a possibility that they're not. I don't really buy that, but it's possible. I'll give you a
Okay?
possibility.
And they already established that Caitlyn doesn't respect them, right? Caitlyn straight up uses Nolan after this all kind of happens, right? Nolan is just the person who was there. It's not emotion connected to it at all. She just was going through a lot, and so she hooked up with Nolan, right? She dated somebody. So you have these cops form this pseudo SWAT team, and this Caitlyn trying to become this emperor and trying to juggle all the things while dealing with her grief. Yes, I think it is a good thing to leave the people who aren't personally involved behind, and I find it 100% believable. I think it's good writing, and I think for you, it's just that mentality of you're viewing them as the Avengers or the SEAL team rather than a
Even if they're a
scrapped
SWAT team,
together SWAT team.
she's either stepping into a good leadership role or she's just going on a personal vendetta.
She
And
is going on a personal vendetta.
if it's just a personal
That's what it
vendetta,
is.
I guess it kind of maybe works. I guess. I still don't really. I find that writing in that episode poor, but that's okay.
I
Um,
I think it's brilliant. I think it's the right call to make. It's a 100% personal decision. She makes it personal. Uh, they 100% like outside of this, like SWAT teams are trained to remove as many variables as possible. So you would not, even in this like scenario that you're talking about where they're this well trained, extremely together SWAT team, uh, you would still remove the variables. So I think it's great. I genuinely love it. I think it's so amazing. Uh, it does a perfect job of, like I said, illustrating that as this fight is going on, Caitlyn and Vi are choosing insanity. Jinx is choosing sanity. And that's the next point I wanted to go over,
mhm,
is because you're butthurt that Jinx isn't as clever in this fight.
for sure.
And she's trying to lose it this time. She is being clever. She wanted Vi to kill her, right? She wanted Vi to go in there and kill her. And the little girl stepped in the way and threw it all off. She introduced a brand new variable, that little girl.
I think you are giving. I think you're giving credence to Jinx just because you like Jinx. I don't think that's actually what she's doing in the story.
Then why, when that little girl sits on her lap and protects her, she says, "No, no, no, this isn't how it was meant to go." And then when the one armed girl sets off the bomb, she says, "No, you did it too early. This wasn't the way it was meant to go."
Because at that point she had given up. I don't think the plan was to lose. She had plenty of other times earlier in the show where she could have just died over and
Yeah,
over and
but
over
she
again.
didn't want to die. She wanted to confront her sister. She wanted Vi to do it. And
And
you see
she,
that resignation in her face as Vi gets her.
why doesn't Jinx just confront her and die when she's in the smoke?
What do you mean when she's in the smoke?
She has the opportunity where she's pointing the gun at her sister, and she could have just gotten in front of her sister. Her sister could have pounded her to death, and she could have died right there. Why didn't she
Because
die then?
I think Jinx knows she has to bait Vi into it.
Obviously, they had a kill squad literally smoke out a room to get Jinx and kill her. If she really wanted to die, why didn't she just die then?
She had to bait Vi. You know
Vi was already ready to. She was there with the group. She was obviously on the kill
that
squad.
as a viewer.
Why
Jinx
wouldn't Jinx
does
know
not
that?
know that as a character.
Jinx can see the kill squad. She can see her sister. She can see the ambush. She can see everything. She can see Caitlyn with a sniper in the back. She can see everybody else with their weapons out, ready to take her out.
Ready to take
And
her. Who's to
she's
say they're
got.
not there to arrest her?
I mean, if she is as intelligent as she's supposed to be, she has to know the reaction to what she's done. She's not. She's not supposed to be an idiot.
She's not.
Like to think that they're not trying to kill me doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
She's insane.
But the point is, from my other earlier argument, that she's not insane anymore because the voices have stopped for some reason.
She's still
Why did the
insane
voices stop?
because the little girl was there. The
The little
voices
girl
were
wasn't there at that
still
point in time.
there until the girl showed up.
It doesn't show that.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, the only time that we hear the voices is when the little girl is taken, and for a moment she has the little voice freak out. She's like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, quiet," and then she goes and gets the little girl back in episode 4. I think it's 4. That's the only
You
time we see it.
also have the beginning of episode 1 when Jinx is dealing with her insanity and everything else going on around it.
We don't hear the voices at all with that.
You don't hear the voices, but they show the animations. And the reason you don't hear the voices is because they're doing a music video for the battle between the prostitutes versus the gangsters versus the whatevers.
That might have been what covers it up. There's a possibility for that. I'll actually rewatch that. For real, I will. Because
Uh,
I didn't notice any sort of insanity. It seemed like all of a sudden she just is fine. And then the little girl's taken, so I guess that brings back some insanity. But she acts pretty reasonable and pretty normal for most of this season somehow.
no, it's sharp. It is sharp, but she goes from insane to choosing sanity, right? There's the scene when she is not acknowledging what she did, right? There's the scene with her and Silco when she's like, "Who put these holes in you?" Right? She's still insane. She chooses sanity and then decides that what she's doing isn't sustainable anymore and she shuts down.
But how do you choose sanity? What does that even mean?
Everybody has a choice, right? Like, crazy people can choose not to listen to their crazy sides or their instincts.
But she
It's
literally,
difficult, but
part
she's
of season 1 is that she
shutting down.
makes the choice to be Jinx and embrace that part of her insanity.
I I agree she chooses to be Jinx. I don't think she embraces insanity. I don't think she sees it that way. Um, I also think that that lends the
I'm
hand
saying that
towards why she is not as crazy is because she has then defined herself. Part of her
and
crazy was I don't know who I am. I don't know which side I'm on. I don't know what I'm doing. And she makes a decision. She chooses to be Jinx. Yes, absolutely. And with that decision, the craze is going to be toned down. And then she takes it further and tones it down and tones it down. And then meets this little girl who reminds her of who she used to be, who her sister was, all of these things. And then
So
chooses I don't I don't have to be insane.
so someone who has developed insanity, and I think Jinx, the side of that personality, and I brought up how I don't think the insanity would go away just because you choose between Powder and Jinx. The insanity was there with Jinx as part of that character. But let's say that that does quiet things. Her insanity goes down that much within what, a week? Maybe? Maybe a week? Really?
Yeah, yeah,
I no,
yeah,
absolutely not.
absolutely, yeah,
No,
yeah.
that doesn't make sense. All these
How
characters have
long does
in,
it take psychological meds to kick in? Most of them.
she uh 24 hours, and then you have to do an adaptation that's about 2 weeks.
So you have between 24 hours and 2 weeks where you are becoming
She's
more
not
and
on
more sane.
psychological meds.
No, but she is defining herself. She's making an
She's
important
defining herself
psychological decision.
as a crazy character.
No, she's defining herself as Jinx. That
And
is
Jinx is the
different.
wild card. She's the crazy character.
No,
And just
Jinx is
because you made that
Silco's
choice,
daughter.
and just because you made that choice, the insanity goes away?
Not
Really?
completely. I never said it went away completely, but it would be toned down a lot. What is the most important thing you can do when you want to succeed?
Make a choice.
Make a choice. Oh, look at that. What's the most important thing you can do when you're dealing with hard times or whatever? The number one thing in all of those situations is define yourself, right? Like, take all of those books and self-help things that you like to read. They're all about that.
Yeah, for sure.
They're all about defining yourself. It's about looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm a lucky person and good things are going to happen to me
And
today.
who does she define herself as? Who is Jinx?
Silco's daughter.
More than that, who is Jinx?
Silco's daughter.
That's too simple. Who is Jinx?
Silco's daughter.
I, I'm sorry, man. The Powder is just not Vi's sister. There's so much more to Powder, and Powder hasn't been around for a really, really long time. Jinx has had
Powder was
years and
around
years and years and years and
longer.
years to develop.
That's the whole point is she was struggling to define herself as Powder or Jinx. Powder was around the entire time. She had that internal conflict. She didn't know who she was. She didn't know if she should trust Silco or trust what
Part
Vander
of
told her.
part of
She doesn't
season
know
one
if the
is
other
that
way.
Powder is silent, and then Vi comes back into her life, and Powder wakes up because Powder has been dormant. You could call her like Powder is hibernating. It's literally part of the story. And then you have Jinx, who has been around for a really long time. And my point is that Powder and Jinx are much. It would be a stupid character if all Jinx was Silco's daughter, and all Powder was Vi's sister. Part of the reason Jinx is such an interesting character is because there is so much more to the character than just that.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of crossover between who Jinx is and who Powder is.
Sure, but when she chooses to be Jinx, if she just really chooses to be Jinx, she's not just choosing to be Silco's daughter. She's choosing so much more than that. Who is the character of Jinx?
Silco's daughter. It really is that simple. It is what Silco wanted her to be. It is what Silco wanted Zahn to be. It is all of those things. She let go of the part of herself that was powder, which was what Vander wanted, the part that wanted to pull back, the part that wanted to slow down, the part that wanted to strategize, the part that wanted to, right? She
Tinker and
chose,
play and blah 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 blah
yeah, she chose the side that Silco taught her.
blah.
So yeah, there's a lot of attributes that is, but it really is as simple as she's choosing to be Silco's daughter. She's choosing to be the person that Silco wanted her to be.
And if she chooses to be that person, part of that person is the tear down the elites, go to war, be smart, be tactical, go be this person. And instead, she just shifts back to, I don't know, hiding out. And I guess if we go by your logic, wanting to die by her sister's hand. Why would Jinx become this in a week? The whole painting the city colors thing that she does, which is cool. That seems like Jinx. That makes sense with the character. That makes sense with the choice that she made. The whole, well, I kind of just want to die by my sister doesn't really to me. That says you still haven't decided which person you want to be. The whole, there's just a lot of things that don't line up with the story that they're trying to progress and tell.
Okay. So I think, from my perspective, I think you're just digging your heels in and trying to say that it doesn't because you already said it doesn't. Um, because what you're having, right, in season one is Jinx deciding to be Jinx, deciding to be Silco's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay? She's trying to be that person that Silco wanted her to be,
Okay.
and she doesn't realize that she just killed Silco. She
Okay.
is mourning Silco. She is in an extreme depression because not only did she just choose to be with Silco and give up on Vi and everyone else, that person is gone, right? She defined herself as Silco's soldier, but she doesn't have Silco anymore to be the soldier for. So she is just, I don't know what to do. I'm not a leader. I don't know how to handle this. I don't really fully understand what just happened. All I know is that Silco's gone, right? So she goes into a depression and makes this plan to me. She makes this plan of, I don't know what to do. I'm just causing problems for the world. I have these complicated feelings for my sister still. I'm still dealing in grief. So, as a farewell to Silco, I am painting the city colored. And in my last moments, I'm going to decide how I'm going to go out, and that's by the hand of my sister because that's the way it needs to go. That's the way I want it to go.
Okay. If that's what you think, that's fantastic. I again, I don't. None of this ruins the show for me. We've gotten pretty intense in the last hour or so. I have some problems with it. Um, I wish I didn't. It doesn't completely add up to me. I do think you've made some good points. Sorry if I haven't shown that. I do think you've made some good points. But I think there's just some issues. And then kind of my last issue, I'll go past this, but is it's kind of it's a small one, but I feel like they have this one season, so they have to get a lot done. And Caitlyn has this major moment where she decides to change and become the general. And I think the idea that she would turn against what's her name? Uh, Ellen, I think is her name, the black. leader mom
Merida?
of the what is her
Merida?
name? Is it Am what is her name?
The
You know what I'm
mother?
talking about. The
Or
mother.
the. Okay.
The mother. The
I don't know.
idea that she would see that the mother was evil and turn away from that in the second part of season 2, I can buy. It just feels like it was very, very, very quick. Um, Again, doesn't ruin the show. Just could have been a little bit better, in my opinion.
I think season 2 could have been done better as well, but not in any of those ways.
Okay.
Like I said, I think that that fight was all about choosing who you wanted to be. Um, I really think that what this is all boiling down to is the fact that if I were to narrow it down, I would say I think that people are who they are underneath in some ways, always. So if we go back to the Barney disagreement, is you believe Barney has completely fundamentally changed who he is and he would never go back to that person. And I believe that those attributes who made Barney a player were always there. You can change and you can adapt, but that person is always there and everybody can always revert to who they were, right? And personally, I think that scares you a little bit because that might tell you that you could become a person you used to be that you didn't like. Um, Same thing going here. I view that, like, yes, Jinx chose Jinx, but she is still in her core, part of her is still powder, right? And Vi going through her situation is still Vi, even though she deals with heartache and heartbreak and depression and all that kind of stuff. And there's so many characters dealing with grief, and like grief is such a powerful motivator for people to become things and to change and to do things. And literally every single character is dealing with grief in this season. Um, I I can see people not liking it. I disagree that it's not believable. Um, I To me, the issue comes with Vander and Warwick,
Interesting. Okay.
because they've been building to this literally since episode 1. I thought one of your problems was going to be that it was stupid to bring back a character from the dead, and my counter argument was going to be they've literally been building to this since season 1, episode
Yeah,
1,
I
from
thought
the very
Vander was
beginning.
going to come back in
Yeah,
the first season. When the first season ended, one of my only guesses for season 2 was they would bring Vander back. I don't
yeah.
think Silco will come back, but
I don't think it
I
will
thought
either.
Vander would be back.
Yeah. Uh, but specifically bringing back as Warwick, that's been built up. Um, I feel like that's the part that was rushed, is that you have this long build to him coming back, and then you have him back, and you have 10 minutes of what could have been a happy ending for Arcane, right? And then in like 2 minutes, it ends, right? Uh, Vander loses the side of him that's Vander. Jace kills, what's his name, causing this all to go insane. And then at the very end, you have the little girl sacrificing herself as Jinx, to save everyone. Very
Yeah, I thought
symbolic, very powerful, but that's the part to me that felt rushed, is
I,
that ending piece with Vander.
I thought that was a little rushed too, with kind of a lot of things with Vander. You have sisters that have been brutally fighting for a long time, but then Vander shows up and it felt too easy for them to come together. And I realized Vander coming back is obviously very emotionally, it's a huge thing for sure. And I can buy that it would bring them together. That makes sense to me. It felt a little too easy, and I think that is because they didn't have the time to really let it breathe. I
I I
it was a
don't
small
agree.
enough thing that I didn't even bring that one up because it's fairly minor to me.
it is it. I don't see that simply because they used the little girl to already get that ball rolling, and then there's a gap of time where I agree they didn't show it, but Jinx was with Vander in the sewers, letting herself be powder again,
I'm
and Vi was dealing with her heartbreak and becoming emo Vi.
I'm genuinely curious, just the difference here. I actually don't have a problem with it either. I like the little girl. I think she's a very well written part of season two. I think she's one of the better parts actually. But as far as her writing goes, um, what is the difference between using this child to push the story along, and for instance, like you had a problem with One Tree Hill and the kid, and allowing the grandpa to kind of come back into grace. It's still using a child. It's different, but it has very similar story beats. Why is it okay to you?
Because it's not the child's responsibility.
Okay,
So in One Tree Hill, that child is making it his mission to bring Grandpa back into the life. And it's ultimately the child's responsibility to bring them together and all of these things. And being a child of divorce, not okay with saying it's the child's responsibility.
but
Okay.
isn't
In Arcane, it is not the child's responsibility. The show doesn't paint it as the child's responsibility. The show actually paints it as the child forcing her way in. Um, Jinx tries to get rid of her, she just won't come go. Jinx tries to save her from getting involved in the fight and go out with the bang she wanted to have, and she forced her way in. And it's not that this little girl is doing these things, and it's actually very directly correlated with their eye color through season two. So I don't know if you noticed this, but all three of their eye colors change throughout the season.
I did notice that. I didn't notice all three. I
Yeah.
noticed Vi and Jinx. I didn't notice the little girl.
The little girl's eye color changes uh, to correlate with who she was trying to symbolize in the moment. So
Interesting.
when the little girl first shows up, she's got kind of like the brown eyes that Vi had at the beginning of season one.
Hmm.
And then when Vi sees her for the first time, she has blue eyes, like
Hmm.
Powder had in the beginning of season one.
Interesting.
And Vi goes through, the her season one eye color to brown again when she's being all emo. To actually, the color is called powder blue at the end of season two, episode 6.
That
And
is pretty cool.
Jinx goes from the her eye color in season one to violet pink at the end of episode 6 in season two. So to me, I really think the animation and everything going into it is talking about how they're they're doing empathy. They're seeing each other's side and they're letting go of their anger.
Through the
They're
animation.
doing empathy, and it's amazing.
So, how aren't they painting that the little girl's responsibility? She has this scene that is admittedly cool where she pretends to be Jinx in front of the army. Isn't that painting it as it's her responsibility to get Jinx involved in this kind of rebellion?
From a plot point, yes, but
Okay.
from Jinx's perspective as a character, this little girl is just her sister. This
But
little
if we're
girl is not trying to make her do or be anything. This little
hmm,
girl has Jinx color her hair, paint her nails, teach her how to build things, right? She has a lot of respect for Jinx. She loves Jinx, right?
Absolutely.
Jinx is
Yes.
her sister. She loves what Jinx symbolizes. She sees that Jinx is a symbol to the people of Zon. She doesn't want the people to lose hope. You know, she's a lot of things, but there's no scene where that little girl says, "You two better stop fighting." There's just a scene where she chooses to protect Jinx. And it's not her responsibility to do it. She's never forced into that situation. She chooses to be there. She chooses that. So, to me,
Doesn't
that's the
just
distinction
doesn't the little
between the
boy
two.
in One Tree Hill choose to love the grandfather and try to give him grace? I don't
Yeah,
understand the distinction. I actually am trying to understand this. I don't.
because there's a
It doesn't
little
make sense to me.
boy goes back to mom and dad and says, "Why can't grandpa come around?
Okay, so
I
that's the
want
problem.
grandpa to go around." Yeah,
So
so
if the
it's
little girl said, does she speak ever in the
no,
show?
she's can't speak. She does. They do
She's
hand
mute.
signals. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Um, if she did hand signals and said like, "Why aren't you supporting the troops?" You would hate that, or this
If
uprising.
if there was a scene where she was dragging Jinx out into the public and saying, "Be this symbol," I would have a problem with that. But the
Okay.
other distinction between the two is the little boy in One Tree Hill is tied to both sides.
Hmm.
The little girl isn't. The little girl loves Jinx and is only loving Jinx. She doesn't give two shits or even care about who Vi is. For us as the viewer, she is this symbol of who Vi used to be and who Jinx used to be in Powder
But she
and
just
how
loves
they each
Jinx.
see, but she just sees Jinx. She's not trying to be a peacekeeper. She's not trying to stop the fighting. She just tries to save Jinx's life because she loves her.
So why do you think that she's getting involved in the rebellion as a character?
Because I think she's still part of Zon, right? She still grew up in the Undercity, and she sees people painting Jinx all over, and she sees Jinx not wanting to be that person. Um, so one of my all-time
But
favorite books is To Kill a Mockingbird,
mhm.
and it speaks so powerfully about how kids are really just so observant, how they can really see and understand the world a lot more than we give them credit for.
It's the
But
genius of
she's
that
still
book.
a kid, doesn't know how to process it and how to handle it. So she just knows the city needs Jinx and I need Jinx. So I am going to go light the candle to symbolize Jinx, to kind
When
of
Jinx can't do
love
it
Jinx that
herself.
way and love that city because Jinx won't do it herself. Right?
Won't is a better word. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good point. I do think the little girl is extremely well written.
I think she's brilliant. I think she is just great. I love that she's mute because if she was a little manipulator, all right, like that would definitely take away from it. Um, she's definitely a good addition to the group, and the way that these two characters, Vi and Jinx, can start to put aside their differences and realize they're not that different than me. Uh, Jinx being crazy is not that far away from what I can do or be, and Vi choosing the upper city over Zon is not that far away from what I have chosen to be either. Right? I think it's brilliant. Like I said, my nitpicks about the show, I would still call season two a 10 out of 10. I think it's amazing so far.
Okay.
But it would just be that one little flip between episode one's intro music and the funeral. I still think that there should just be a splash screen that just gives some information so we know that we're talking about death the second that starts. Um, I think
On
that Vander was a little rushed there at the very end. The build up I thought was good. The transition, them all coming together, them having father daughter moment in the cave was great, um, but just came really close to a clash there. And right now, it's not really a nitpick. I just hope in the last 3 episodes they give more context as to Jace and what he went through, because he just like comes back into the world and goes and kills his friend.
Yeah,
And while the nerd in me is like, oh yeah, he was stuck in there and it was driving him crazy, and he learned so much, he knew that it had to happen. I'm hoping they explain what that so much is, uh,
me too.
just because that to me feels like the unexplained change. Also, where is Heimerdinger? And he was also sucked into that little universe, and I'm very excited for part 3. I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I do think that there are some things that could have been done a little bit differently, um, but nothing major.
Okay. I do have
No.
one. Just curious what your thought is. They have, I can't ever remember her name, the queen girl, black one that dates Jace. What is her name?
Meridia
Mel?
or
Is it Mel?
Mel, yeah.
Yeah, Mel. Um, when she's having that vision, I also think it's kind of weird that they just included magic out of the blue, but I'm giving that a. I'm just gonna watch the rest of the show and see how that pans out. But you have this magic scenario, and she's seeing her brother, and they're talking, and they talk about her mom having another child out of wedlock. If that was true, do you think there's any chance that that's Elko?
Echo.
Echo. Is that his name? Echo, yeah.
Echo, not Elko. He's not a deer.
Echo. Echo.
Echo. uh it's not Echo. I can tell you that right now, it's not. um
Okay. I wondered. I
just
didn't
knowing League of
know. That was just
Legends,
a
it's
fan
not
theory.
Echo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do we
no, it's
know?
not.
Have we met the character at all? Or I don't
It's the
want to know
brother.
who it is.
It's the
What?
brother that they show.
But I thought it
That's her
was
brother.
another character that we didn't know yet. That was out of wedlock.
It's him.
It is that brother? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it was someone else. My bad.
Yeah.
I
That's why he
misunderstood
was
that part.
like, that's why she cast me out and all this kinds of stuff. It's because she was an illegitimate
Okay.
child.
I thought he
Yeah.
and she were legitimate, and then there was another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding is it's just the two, and he was out of wedlock, which is why Mel was the favorite, and why he was taken into Black Rose, taken by Black Rose, and left there by the mother.
Okay. That makes sense. And then, kind of last thing, but this is just something that I really, really enjoyed about this season. The character, Savika. In the first season, she's like addicted to gambling, and I loved the arm having that gambling aspect. I thought that was super, super cool. Like, legitimately, my favorite part, probably of season one so far, is that fight between her and the goblin guy. I think that fight is awesome. Straight up, really cool.
It was absolutely amazing, astounding, fantastic. I loved that. Uh, I loved so much about season two. It's so hard to pick just a favorite, especially when the story is getting so complex and so intertwined. Um, it's just so very cool. They've only got 3 episodes to come to a close. Like I said,
I
I'm
thought there
I'm
were
really
gonna be.
hopeful.
Is that it? Really?
Yep, yeah, 3 parts.
I thought there was more than that.
Nope, I'm pretty sure this is it. Part 3 comes out
That's
Saturday
wild.
night, and they'll be done. So they have a lot to kind of tie up. Um,
In a
Huge
very short
shout
amount of
out
time.
to the Riot team in charge of Arcane, because they reiterated what I said in our last episode. They just did an interview that said no season 3, no way, no how, because they had set out to write a story and they are not going to extend it for the sake of extending it.
They have a lot to do in 3 episodes. I thought we had 6 left. That's crazy.
3 episodes left. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm very excited. So far, I've been very pleased. If they keep it up, it's a great show. It's so great.
Hmm. I do like, on a personal level, I liked the last three episodes better than the first three. That's why I don't have as many problems with the last three. But there's a lot of greatness. I didn't like it quite as much as season one so far. I'm very, very curious how they're going to make everything work in three episodes. But we'll see.
We
We'll
will
see.
see. We're gonna find out real soon. It's
We're gonna find out. Yeah,
gonna be a lot. Gonna
yeah,
make or break the show for sure.
for sure.
Um,
It'll be cool to talk about the rest of this next week.
yeah.
All right, man. That was a lot for Arcane. Like a lot. I didn't actually think we'd go that long. Um, let's go to Battle for Polytopia.
Yeah. So this is a game that Devin Hunter introduced me to this last week. It's a risk-esque game where you just take turns. You have your own tribes that have their own tech trees. You can play it on your phone or on the computer. You build your units. You try and take out the other guys. It's a lot of fun. I've been having a ton of fun with it. Um, it's simple yet super complex in a lot of really good ways, and it's challenging. I like it a lot.
It's a fun little game. I've played it a few times actually,
Oh,
and the
when did you
race
play
that
it?
I was really into it about last year this time actually, right around
If any
Thanksgiving.
viewers are interested, he's starting his own YouTube channel. He's going to be called Lord Savaroth. Look him up. He's a good guy. Support him. He just introduced me to it, so I paid for it to be on the computer, and he said it's better on the phone, so I downloaded it on the phone. So
Yeah, that's what I was playing it on.
it's
I liked
a good
the
time.
water race. I can't remember what the water race is called. That's the one that I would play.
I don't know what any of them are called. They're all really weird, but it's a fun game.
It was a fun game.
It's a good time. I'd love to
Cool,
play
cool.
it with more people. Good one.
All right, Cobra Kai season 6. I have watched the first part and two episodes, and I feel like I'm the one who's fighting against stuff this episode. Ah,
What do you mean?
Cobra Kai was I I think Cobra Kai's best season was season 3. And since then, I feel like they've kind of, in some ways, run out of ideas. And so LaRusso and Johnny have to keep like butting heads over the same things instead of just coming together. And my hope for season 6 was just, okay, we've put the past behind us. Let's all come together. We have one enemy. We have one fight that we're going against. Let's stop having these inner dialogue, basic fighting, and let's just go beat these other guys. Let's just come together. Let's just do it. And unfortunately, they didn't. That's a little disappointing to me, but it's not the end of the things. On season 6, episode 5, you have a major fallout where Peyton List's character, the blonde one, I actually can't remember her name in the show. You find out that the mom is dead and she storms off. And I was majorly disappointed that you have Amanda, who is a super caring character. You have all of her best friends there. You have her boyfriend there. You have all of these people, and nobody goes after her. No one at all. It didn't. That was another thing where it just didn't make sense with the character, in my opinion. And then when she stormed off, I think. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They did go after her. She just shut them down and told everybody to screw off. So everybody kind of was like, okay, I guess she needs her space. And then she came back in and is like, I want to fight and I just want to use my fist to get out of it. And Johnny's like, yeah, do that. And everybody else is like, hold on, we can process this like mature people.
No, I'm talking where she leaves for that last time before she shows up on what's his name's team? the main bad guy who I was going to bring up next, whose name I could
Yeah,
remember until just
yeah.
barely.
But she had already established that she wasn't going to talk to them, and everybody was like, I guess she just needs her space. I'm disappointed in it, but I do find it believable and fine.
I think there's some characters, but I think there are some characters that just would have went after her, and I don't really buy it. Especially Amanda. I just don't think anything would keep Amanda from chasing somebody and trying to help them in any way that she possibly could.
I agree, but I also think that she's a big proponent of timing, and I think she would have had the state of mind to say, "I will circle back with her later."
Which
She's not in a space to talk right now.
maybe it would have been better if they just reached out and tried to do that. They don't really try to do that. What is his name? The main bad guy. The other teacher who was
There's
Lawrence's
two,
teacher.
Silver
The
and I
the
can't
other guy.
remember. Yeah.
Anyway, the
Anyway,
other guy. We get to the main competition, and he is just at the competition, and I was like, he is a felon, and he got on a plane and got to South Korea. Bullshit. No, not at all. Would not get there. And I know in the next episode he's like, who do you think they're gonna believe? Me, a decorated veteran, or just a bunch of punk kids? Well, there's a lot of witnesses that you did what you did and that you're a felon. And I don't think it would just disappear like that. And that's kind of stupid. Again, there's some things with this show where it's just there is some cheese in the show. It doesn't ruin the show. It's just not great.
I think you're just confusing what kind of show this is.
Um, I literally just said that it's got some cheese. It is a drama. It's a American soap opera. That really is what it is. But they also have tried to be
They've not tried to
something.
be anything but a soap opera. The whole thing is a soap opera the whole way through. And in
It
a
gets
soap
more
opera, you
soap
get to the
opera.
compa. It's a soap opera the whole way through. And when you get to the big competition, they're gonna fight with each other about who's the biggest, baddest. It, I
Yeah.
agree with you. It's stupid and it's cheesy, and you would love to see growth, but it's a soap opera.
But I think that they do have some growth for the first three seasons. I think it gets more soap opera. There is soap opera elements throughout the entire thing for sure. It's I would call the first three seasons more like 80s drama, where you have some of the cheese drama-y stuff, and then it gets more into just soap opera. I think there's a little bit of a transition there. So these are things that I didn't really like, but they're also I understand that the show has some cheese and is some way like that. Does that is that fair? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. From my perspective, it's always been a soap opera. It always feels like they're gonna make the most dramatic decision at every last twist and turn that they can. Uh, the thing that I do think sets it apart is the fact that the characters do have growth, and I think that that's still true in the end. Uh, I don't think it becomes more or less so, but it is a little bit more forced because you already had them deal with these things, and you already see the character development going. So it's a little bit more forced, but it's still just a soap opera. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. I am absolutely shocked by the newest episode. Um, did not see that coming from a mile away.
Is
Very good
I
drama choice.
haven't seen. I've seen the first two episodes of this second part. I haven't watched the last three. But there's something you just didn't see.
Uh, coming. Something I didn't see coming.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm
Yep.
excited to see what it is.
It's very interesting. I'm very interested to see what they do with part 3 and 4 because
Isn't there just a part 3? Are they doing a 4?
nope, they're doing part 4 2025.
Oh.
Uh, so yeah, it's very interesting.
It is a highly enjoyable show. And all of my pessimism today is not saying I don't like these shows, guys. It's just things that were bugging me about both of them. Do you think season 6 is as good as it was earlier? Where do you put it in the ranking?
I think season 5 is probably the best season. Uh,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, to me, that's where actual development happens. They're actually coming together. They've defeated Silver. They've defeated the other guy. They've put so much to rest. Like, you could probably honestly end the show there.
You could
Um,
have.
yeah. Uh, season 6 is still good. It's still more of the same. It's still more drama. You still have more Johnny versus Daniel. You still have them both say, well, for the sake of the kids, we're going to put aside our differences. And you still have Johnny saying, maybe the tough, stupid way isn't the best way after all. And you have all of those things, and none of it is so far out of reach. I think a problem with some of the soap operas is they go too far. Like Tori joining Cobra Kai again is not so far out of reach that you go,
It's
oh,
not.
that would never happen in a million years. That's so stupid. You go, oh man, I wish that wouldn't have happened. I mean, she had so much growth.
Actually,
Um,
what I think is more unrealistic is that the Cobra Kai instructor, the female, whatever, or the woman, whatever her name is, the Asian woman, would let Kreese is his name, come back to Cobra Kai after he failed so bad in season 5. It with the whole we're militant, we don't take mistakes, we blah 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 blah. I think that's actually more unrealistic than that Peyton List character would go back to Cobra Kai.
love her as a character, Asian girl.
Really?
Yep,
Love 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 which one? The Peyton List character, the blonde one? Oh, the Asian girl. Okay. Okay.
the instructor lady.
All right. Interesting. All
Yep,
right. I wouldn't have expected that. That's surprising
I
to me.
wouldn't have expected that either. But gosh darn it, she's one of my favorites right now. I
Okay.
love her and I am rooting for her.
Interesting. They're just doing a part 3 and that will be the end.
Okay. So part three,
So,
whatever it is, tying it up, very interesting. I'm very excited. I know it's gonna be just a whole lot of drama and the end, but I'm excited for it.
cool, cool, cool. I'm excited to see what these next episodes will bring. Sweet.
We'll have to
Well,
talk. Hopefully you'll watch the rest of what's out before next record.
I
'Cause
will.
I'd love
I'll
to
get the
see
rest
what
of
you
them
have
taken
to
care of.
say about the last episodes.
I will, man. All right. Superfan episodes for The Office. What do you got?
I think they're better than the original show. I
Really?
think they actually add a lot of context, and there's some things that were cut out that you go, "Oh my gosh, that's where that makes that scene so much better." It makes the
Hmm.
show better. Uh, they add a lot of jokes. Like some of the episodes go from being like 20 to 30 minutes to being 45 minutes long. So
And
they
where are
just
they?
added. So when
Do,
they
did they
recorded
just?
The Office, they would
Yeah.
write kind of a general script, and then they would also go record a bunch of B-roll stuff. Them sitting in the um, conference room having a meeting, doing stupid stuff. They would go
Hmm.
have them be out in the office doing stupid stuff. Jim pulling some more pranks has been added back in, making more jokes and stuff. So the Superfan episodes is just taking all of that content that the people who had the deleted scenes and bloopers reel from when they bought the DVDs put those back in, and it ended up being like a lot of content. And I don't think it like changes where I would put The Office in my list of top shows of all time. Um, but it has been making rewatching The Office so much more enjoyable. Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Does it so it doesn't raise it above Parks and Rec in your
no,
mind?
no,
No, okay.
no. You still have The Office, which is pretty consistently funny here, like a 6 or a 7, and then occasionally jumps up to a 10. And then you have Parks and Rec, which is just consistently an 8 or a 9. So,
Cool,
I
cool,
mean,
cool.
it doesn't change that ranking, but it has given me a way to watch The Office and enjoy it again, and get to see the new scenes and make some other stuff make more sense. And it's good. I would recommend it.
Cool. Cool. What are
Yeah.
you watching it on?
It's on Peacock.
Okay, sweet. Maybe I'll give it
Yeah.
another shot. That's cool. Um, I'll go through Penguin. I This is one that I really don't have that much bad to say about. I think the Penguin is brilliant. It is the only bad thing I can say about the Penguin is they kind of changed the character because in the original idea of the Penguin, he is corrupted by money and he's born rich, and Bruce Wayne is not corrupted by money, and you have that dichotomy in the characters. And you kind of get rid of that. You don't kind of you get rid of that with this version of the Penguin. I also weirdly don't care. Um, at the first of the show, you are thinking the Penguin is a pretty good guy. He's just in a bad situation and he's playing the game. And then as you watch the show, you realize that he is evil and will do anything to win, no matter what the cost is. Go ahead.
Do you think that was influenced at all by the Gotham show?
I It feels really separate to me
Okay.
from anything else. Like you could just watch the Penguin, and other than the bat symbols in the very last scene of the show, have it really not connected to Batman in any way, shape, or form.
Right, but in Gotham,
And
Penguin is this scrawny kind of loser guy, and he kind of does what he does to gain influence and power. I was asking if the choice
I
to
see what you're
make
saying.
Penguin not rich might have been influenced by people liking that version of the Penguin.
There's a possibility. I honestly don't know. I don't know. It's possible
Okay.
though. I think it's more this kind of story lends itself really well to a mob boss, drug lord kind of story, and it worked with the character, so that's what they decided to go with. But his development throughout the entire show is excellent. The girl who plays Ted's wife, she is one of the main like villains of the show, and she is phenomenal. Like so freaking good. You find out that she gets falsely convicted of being a serial killer that's killing all these women, so she gets sent to Arkham, and I think it's episode 4. It is one of the best shows of acting that I've ever seen. She slowly basically gets tortured in Arkham to become something ruthless. And you see one episode this character shift who she is significantly. It's a, it's brilliant. Um yeah, go ahead.
You could have just told me she was in the show and I would have watched the show.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
I
She
love
is
Christy Milioti.
she is so good in this show. Like
She's so good in
holy
everything.
crap. Dude, you're right. She's so good
I've
in
never
everything.
not liked her in anything. She's
Me
always
either.
great. Even the shows that I don't necessarily like the show, I always love her in it.
Me
She
too.
always does
She's
a
a
great job. Yeah.
charming person. And in this one she is so dark and she's so good. Um it is one of the best shows that I've seen in a really long time. To be completely honest, I think it's great. And it has a twist that I should have seen coming. Like it's kind of obvious when you think about it, but it's like I just didn't want to believe that this was going to happen. I didn't want to believe that the Penguin was this bad, but It works with the show incredibly well. All the character development makes sense. I was glued to the screen the entire time. I blew through this show. I wanted to watch it every single week when it came out. Man, if you guys like Batman, even if you have problems with the Batman movie, like I know you do, Josh, this is separate from that. It's just a great dig into a character that is fascinating, surrounded by a fascinating world that is done expertly.
That's really great to hear. I've always loved the Penguin as a villain, and was sad to see that in the 2000s he kind of fell from grace. Um, so I'm excited. I'm gonna watch it. It's gonna go towards the top of my list because I love her. I love the Penguin. I love to hear that it's good.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. All right. Let's see. We went through Cobra Kai, went through Arcane. Outer Banks. I am very curious what you think about this show because I did
I
not get into it.
love this show. It is
Really? Okay.
so good.
Oh man, maybe I need to try it again. I watched. I only think the first two or three episodes, and maybe only two, and it just wasn't grabbing me really at all. Tell me why you
I
like it.
I love this show, and to be very clear, I should not like this show. This show
Okay.
does things that absolutely get to me in other shows.
All right.
Okay,
Like
so
what?
whole plot of the first season. I've only gotten through the first season so far, people. So don't judge me too harshly if the rest is terrible. But I watched season one. The whole plot is main character has this group of friends that call themselves the Pogues because they're the poor ones and they hate the rich people and the rich people hate the poor people. Nothing new, whatever is fine. Okay, um, you have this dynamic of this group of friends as the main character who lost his father to sea um, at a very young age, missing his dad, wanting his dad back, not believing his dad is dead, uh, all of these things, right? He gets this piece of his father's compass, and it reignites this, oh, he's alive mentality. And I gotta understand where this came from because it was found on a sunken boat that was they suspected was carrying contraband. So like, what's this whole story? What's all going on? I want to understand more. Oh, and by the way, there's also a $400 million treasure of gold, right?
Hmm.
So the whole first season is this group of kids, teenagers, banding together to solve the riddle, find the gold because that's going to lead to the dad eventually, right? Because the dad went missing looking for the gold. And let me tell you that it is the stupidest riddle of all time. Like, they could have pulled that from a child's, like, preschooler's puzzle book. That's how bad it is, right? So they figure out that the gold was not sunken on the ship and that it had stayed on their island where they live the whole time. But that's nothing new. A lot of characters in the show already knew that. And then they figure out that, oh my gosh, this guy who was suspected of having the gold was getting there was a mob coming to kill him, and he wrote a letter to his only son that said, make sure you clear the wheat in field 9. But oh my gosh, get this, there is no wheat in field 9. And there's a wheat symbol drawn on the corner of this letter. And guess what? There's a wheat symbol in the middle of all the gold pieces. Like, how had nobody figured this out before? That's the stupidest thing ever. Literally, nobody read this letter and was like, that's awfully weird that this was his last statement in his death letter. And we all thought he had this gold. And like, these kids, they're like, there is no Lot 9 anymore. It's all developed, so we're going to have to look at existing landmarks to figure out where it is. We know where the lighthouse is. Let's go to the lighthouse. So they go to the lighthouse and they say, okay, it's between the lighthouse and here, so it must be in this general area. And then they go out and they break into one specific property and break into her basement and find the gold. It's like, how did you decide it was that property? Decide. How did nobody solve this mystery before? Uh, like, it is genuinely, genuinely stupid. And, like, one of the worst reveals in this show is that they reveal that the dad was dead the whole time. You go, okay. Kind of show that he was supposed to show up later in, but like, okay, whatever. And the rich girl's dad is the one who did it because he wanted to find the gold. Guess what, Dad? You don't deserve to find that gold. You're a moron because that was the stupidest puzzle of all time. Anyway, it's so stupid and so just dramatic in that way.
Okay, so why do you like it?
It's just enjoyable.
All
Like, I
right.
just watch it and I enjoy it. I really like the character John B. I really like the girl. I can't remember her name. I want to say Ari, something like that. She's a rich girl who hangs out with the Pogues, so she's an honorary poor person. I really like her character. I really like the dynamic of the friend group. I don't like the rich girl Sarah at all, and she's the main romance interest of John B. Um, but it brightens my day to watch this show. It makes me feel good
Hmm.
to watch it. Uh, there's nothing just gross or grotesque about it or just awful. Other than one scene where you find out that JJ is abused by his dad. They actually show that, and oh, that's awful. And while watching it, I was like, man, what actor is like, oh man, I really need a role. What can I do? Ooh, I can play the role of abusive father. Let's go. I'm gonna go beat up a teenager. Uh, Played it extremely well. I have a lot of respect for the actor for doing that because, like, I am not an actor at all. But one thing I don't think I could ever do is act out something like that. I just don't think I could do it.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
so, but yeah, it's just drama and teen drama, and it's it's just fun to watch. Yeah, the
Does it
puzzle is really stupid, and yeah, I hate that John and Sarah get together instead of John and the other girl. Um, I really hate that they can't really decide what kind of show it is because they keep like changing characters uh, behind the scenes. Like Sarah's brother is apparently crazy and different stuff like that. Um, but it's a fun watch. I feel good watching it. It's entertaining. Um, Even though it is predictable and stupid, you still feel invested in the characters. Um, it's just good. I really like it.
does it just scratch the like I don't know Scooby Doo psych itch
Oh
sort
no,
of
not at
thing?
all. No,
Oh
Scooby Doo
no.
is like nostalgic holiness, like good quality. Like I
Okay.
Scooby Doo is good. I would say is actually good.
Okay.
Uh, Psych is actually good, and it's trying to be silly and fun and entertaining and give you the mysteries and crime solving and whatever.
Okay.
Um, this is like One Tree Hill or Pretty Little Liars or Gossip Girl. It's one of those
Okay.
shows. That's
Okay.
what it is. But this one's just better and good than those shows.
Interesting.
So,
Okay, you like it better than all of those?
yeah, absolutely. Well, without a
Could
doubt. I mean,
this
I'm
get
only
on
one
your?
season in.
Could this beat Friday night for you?
No,
No. Okay.
no, no, no.
All
Because
right.
Friday Night Lights is like 8 seasons or whatever it is, and I like 6 of them a lot. I'm only one season in, right?
Okay.
And this is the kind of show that like I'm really liking now and I'm digging.
But it's probably gonna
But
fall off a cliff.
if it keeps going, I'm eventually gonna be like, okay, I'm sick of this. I'm done. I'm turning it off.
Done. Okay.
Uh,
Go.
so it okay. You know what it is? It's Sahara starring Matthew McConaughey. If you've seen that,
I have.
meets Pretty Little Liars.
That's a. I
That's what
haven't
it
seen the
is.
show, but I could tell exactly what you mean
Yeah.
for sure.
So it's like I said, I really have no logical reason to enjoy it because the puzzles are stupid. This big mystery that they're building to is stupid. The big reveal they were supposed to reveal later, they counter revealed, and just some other stuff. And I really shouldn't, but I do. I do love it for season one. I'm gonna keep watching it. I didn't have enough time, but I did watch all of season one in a day.
Wow.
I turned it on. I was like, oh, I've got some time to kill. And then season one was over. And I was like, that was so entertaining. I loved that. Um,
That's crazy.
so,
All right. I've been playing Ori. It's a very fun game. It's very pretty. It's a good, fast-paced side scroller. They've got some good little puzzles in it. It has good reaction times. It's somewhat challenging, so it makes it so it's entertaining. I like it. It's a good, solid game. I wouldn't say it's mind-blowingly awesome, but it's a good, solid game. And if it keeps on the trajectory that it's on right now, I will buy the second one and play it because it's good. It's enjoyable. I love British Bake Off. It is one of my weird guilty pleasures. I don't know why I love it as much as I do. I like British culture. I enjoy it. I think bollocks should totally be a thing we say in the United States. I freaking love that word. Um, but I just enjoy it. It is wholesome. It's fun. I like the nice jokes. I like people trying to do their best with this baking. I like some of the things that they make. It's been entertaining. They did have a American guy on this season because he moved to Britain, and the American guy just like didn't show up for 2 episodes and then left. I don't just didn't rep for America very well. Kind of lame. And then my last thing
oh
is
no! The cooking competition show where they don't actually care about the competition, and the guy who's representing America didn't show up to compete. What will they do?
they do care about the. What are you talking about? They don't care about the competition.
They don't care about the competition. There
People
is no
get kicked
competition.
out. The people get kicked out, and then you win, and you can make a lot of money on being a winner and selling your book.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Your last thing. Go ahead.
Last thing is Ascend Online. It is a lit RPG. I guiltily pleasure like lit RPGs. I just enjoy them. I enjoy bad lit RPGs. It is something that I just enjoy. I actually think this is a better one overall so far with book one. They've got a game that the main character gets into early, and he gets a so far fairly interesting class. It's developing as it goes, and basically he's playing the game to make enough money in the outside world to go through series of dramas that he's going through. It's a interesting world. It has interesting developments, and so far it's pretty good. I'll let you know more in the second book when I'm finished with that one. It, that will it will shift a lot whether this is worth getting into.
All right, fair enough.
And then your last one, I'm actually excited to talk about because just knowing you, I don't think you're going to like this game as much as I like this game.
I already don't like this game as much. Uh, the topic is Balatro. And the reason I put this on my list of things to talk about is it was nominated, surprisingly, to not just me, for Game of the Year. Now, I know that this game has a little bit of a cult following. I know that a lot of people are really into it. I know that this is right up your alley. This is exactly something you would like. Um, this is right up the alley of, what is it, Spyro, whatever.
Yeah,
And
Spyro.
the other one, the horror one that was really popular, Inscription,
Yeah.
is right up this alley.
Hmm.
Anybody who doesn't know, it's a roguelike poker game, and that's it. Um, I think it's a fine game. I don't think that this year is a particularly strong year when talking about games, especially games that like I'm interested in and I play.
I agree overall.
But I still don't think it deserves to be nominated for Game of the Year.
Okay.
What do you think
Just
about its
what
nomination?
I am a little conflicted. I really, 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 really like this game. I think it makes poker infinitely more enjoyable. I like the aspect that you can make any hand work and you can win with any hand. There are hands that are just better for the game. There are hands that are suited better towards winning. Um, like if you can get it to where your hand works on a pair, it's the best for this game. It just is. It makes it easier to win. But I also think it's just a lot of fun. I just have a good time with it. I like getting the different cards. I like the roguelike element. I like that it's something that people who aren't as intense with this kind of game can kind of get into. People know poker, and so you one teach them some more about poker. They get better at that, and it's something that's easy enough to understand. This card ability does this. It's more simple than say Spyro or Inscription. They're a little bit more complex, but the simplicity is part of the genius. I'm
Okay,
mixed because is this a Baldur's Gate 3 level game? Absolutely not. No way at all. Is this a most game of the year contender level game? Absolutely not. No. But it's also a very simple, very, very intelligent game for helping people who aren't big video game enthusiasts to really enjoy something and just sit back, relax, and have the grind not feel so much pressure. Just enjoy.
do you know what the nominations are this year?
No, I don't. I actually should look that
Okay,
up.
so this year you have Astrobot,
Okay.
Metaphor, Refantazio,
Refantasio.
yeah, Black Myth Wukong, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and Balatro.
All of the other games on that are simply more impressive than Balatro.
Okay, so things that I think should have made the list instead.
Yeah,
NCAA Football 25.
really.
Return to a big franchise like college football, extremely successful. I know it's a sports game and it's just like Madden, but with different skins, except it's a little bit better than that. I know that I'm a college fan, football fan, and this is right up my alley, and that plays into that a lot. But the last game was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I think. So you have this huge gap. You return and you satisfy your fans. Holy
It's a big
crap!
deal. That's
That's
a
a
big deal.
that to me is very impressive.
It's
Uh,
hard to do.
Dragon's Dogma 2, Hades 2, Helldivers 2.
Hades 2 probably didn't get it because it's not officially out yet. I think it has to be an official release before they can do that. I think. I could be wrong, but I think so.
Well, one of them is a DLC, so
But that is official release. Like Hades 2 is still in beta
I
technically.
know, but I would count it anyway. The Plucky Squire, Prince of
Yes,
Persia: The Lost
absolutely.
Crown,
I haven't
uh,
played that one, but it looks impressive.
Silent Hill 2 remake. I have not played it, but how
Silent Hill 2 should be on that list for sure. You take a game that is absolutely beloved and everyone thinks you can't do it. You can't actually make it better, and everyone agrees that you did it. That's huge.
yeah. You have the new Zelda game, which I have yet to play, but is
Uh,
being reviewed well. Frostpunk 2, uh, again, a game that came back from a kind of big gap, um, satisfying fans. Um,
Plucky Squire is on the debut indie game list.
I know, but we're talking about Game of the Year because
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
only one that really matters. Let's be honest.
That's true. Nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a game coming out next month. I don't remember what it is, but it's supposed to be really great. Let me look it up. Uh, Stalker 2's coming out.
I think it's out now, isn't it?
I don't know. This list just listed as
Yeah.
upcoming. If it did come out, it's really recently.
Yeah.
June, July, August. Mario and Luigi brother. Mario and Luigi Brothership, I think looks really good.
Do you
Uh,
think Helldivers deserve to be on there?
I don't know how you can't. Honestly,
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how you can't put Helldivers on this list when it came out extremely bugged and everybody still loved it. It's an only multiplayer game that had extreme bugs and extreme balancing issues, and yet reviewed well. Still has thousands of fans playing it all the time. I don't know how you say that's not a Game of the Year contender.
I don't either on that one. They pulled up some magic with that.
It's let's see, Indiana Jones is coming out. That's possible to be good. Fable, that's the one. Fable comes
Oh,
out in
yeah.
December.
That's a huge release. That's huge.
Fable 4, that's huge. They've been building up to it for such a long time. I know it's not out yet. If it I don't know how final these nominations are, but hopefully it makes it next year, if not
I
this one.
am happy that at least it puts some light on some of these indie games. Because guys, if you don't play indie games, there's a lot of great games out there. I was looking at the list more. I was looking at more of the list, and they have Animal Well on independent game, best independent game. Animal Well is fantastic, like really, really, really good, and you should try it. Um, and there's a lot of other little indie games that are very well thought out. They're fun to play, and a lot of people just go into the AAA space. I think it's cool that at least indie got into that top game of the year contention.
I'm not mad at that either. Um, but if you want to talk about integrity of the award,
Yeah,
right? You should, if you're only going to nominate six, they
nominate the
should
best
be the
six.
six best games. And I do think that if you had the best six, you would have an indie game or two on there. I don't think you should
I think
count
so too.
DLC, so I think Shadow of the Year Tree's out. But
Even with the size of Shadow of the Year Tree,
Yeah,
That's a
it's a DLC.
massive DLC.
It's a
Okay.
DLC.
Okay.
It's not a full game. It's a DLC. And it when you're talking about game of the year, there's a lot of things that when you're releasing a DLC, you don't have to do.
That's true. That's true.
So so that's why I don't think you should count DLCs because they basically got to say we won game of the year last year and so we're just gonna paint over it and win again. Uh so I'm not a big fan of DLCs being in it. I'm not mad at it. I understand that it's 20 hours or 25 hours or whatever it is and that a lot of these games that made the list are shorter than that,
Yeah.
right? It's just in a fantasy land where my opinion mattered at all, I would say don't count DLCs because they didn't have to do the modeling or the textures or the um, sculpting or anything. They got to
Any of
skip a
that. It
lot
was
of
a lot
stuff. Yeah,
simpler.
yeah. And I think Game of the Year should be simply like we created this thing, we built it. It's a brand new game. And so,
If you
with that being said, I do think that that would actually count out a lot of sequels too. Um, you'd have to say, did they really build this from the ground up, or is this just painting?
Interesting point of view.
Yeah,
Huh.
I
I That is interesting. I don't know. Because
yeah,
most sequels, you'll get a couple sequels where they basically are using the same framework.
yep.
Like,
Same framework, same
yeah,
modeling, even same textures, same all that kind of stuff. So those kind of sequels, and I think that Mass Effect 2 might lean into that arena. Um, would not make the list, but I'm personally okay with that.
hmm,
I think it should be the game of the year, the most impressive game of the year. That's actually its own thing.
that's something.
So,
That's an interesting point of view. With the list that we're seeing here, what do you think wins?
for what's been nominated,
Yeah,
hold on. Between Astrobot, Metaphor, Final Fantasy, Black Myth, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Balatro, I have played three. I have played Astrobot, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Balatro. And if I were to give my winner of those three, I would give it to Astrobot.
from what I've heard, I think Astrobot will probably win.
Black Myth
Honestly,
might win. A lot of people
that's
love Black Myth.
the
Uh,
other one that I'm not sure about.
Shadow of the Erdtree. People love Elden Ring. And Final Fantasy VII. People love Final Fantasy VII. Uh, I think the front runner is Final Fantasy. Yeah. Yep. You're rebuilding a beloved game in a new direction. You're changing the characters, and your fans are loving it. Not just liking it, loving it. I don't know how like it deserves to be on this list. It deserves to be nominated. I see it as the front runner in this competition. I think Elden Ring is probably number 2 and Black Myth is number 3. I think Astrobot is coming from behind because ultimately it's a pretty basic 3D platformer and that just doesn't impress anymore. Uh, like, I love Astrobot. I think its biggest selling point is that people are going out there and saying it's basically Nintendo. I think that's a massive compliment to it. But Nintendo was left off of this list. Yeah, so is it better than Zelda? I don't know, I haven't played Zelda. But Zelda definitely looks to be more interesting in terms of mechanics. At the very least, Zelda's equally gorgeous to look at. They're also taking it in a new direction with playing as actually Zelda. Uh, I mean, like, is it better than Mario Odyssey? I know Mario Odyssey didn't come out this year, but if Astrobot won Game of the Year and Mario Odyssey wasn't even nominated its year, you're kind of saying that it is, and I don't really know if I could say that, because it's a pretty basic 3D platformer. It doesn't really do anything new. It doesn't really, like, you even have to have a PS5 to even enjoy it. Like, I don't know. Never played it. I think It Takes Two, you had co-op emotion, and co-op is a dead genre. Like, it's sad. I think co-op is the best way to play games, honestly. But it's dead. There's no co-op anymore. And then It Takes Two comes out and does a really good job and creates a big fan base. Hats off to it. Never played it. Don't plan on playing it. It does not look like my cup of tea. Uh, but I mean, just From Software has won every single time it's put a game in the competition. Yep. Dark Souls 3, Game of the Year. Bloodborne was nominated and won, but also sort of didn't win. We kind of accept the other version of Game of the Year that year that won in 2015 that I think picked The Witcher 3. Sekiro, Game of the Year. And Elden Ring, Game of the Year. So every time From Software has put something in the top, it has won. And to me, Bloodborne is the best game that they've made. And so I give it credit. I say it won Game of the Year because it sort of did, and I think is way better than The Witcher 3. Um, but so how do you say, well, they're not going to win this time? It's like the Patriots with Tom Brady. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? It's possible, but I don't think there was an official Game of the Year award back then. I think 2014 was the first year. Okay. 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 I don't think either one of those should have won, but my opinion doesn't matter because I didn't like Dark Souls and I didn't like Inquisition, so what do I know? Absolutely. You introduced a new mechanic so cool that you had to copyright it and stop other games from doing it. Warner Brothers, don't do that. That's a cool mechanic. I would love that in my other games. Let other people do it. Because they'd probably do it better than you anyway. So yeah, as Elden Ring has the legacy of always winning with From Software. Square Enix and Final Fantasy VII is Final Fantasy, one of the biggest gaming franchises there is. And you're satisfying your fans and you're bringing in new ones, and the game is gorgeous. It is beautiful. Nope. I've barely started part 1. I do plan on eventually playing through it and playing Rebirth, but right now I've just seen some clips and stuff. Yeah. Which Final Fantasy? Because it's very different. Final Fantasy Tactics is a very different game than Final Fantasy IV, which is a very different game than Final Fantasy IX. My first one was Final Fantasy 13, I think, and it was a 45-minute intro where you were flying and a dragon was chasing you, and you pressed attack, attack, like it was Pokemon, attack, and a cutscene, an unskippable cutscene, and it lasted for 45 minutes. Did it end? Nope, because I turned the game off. It kept going. I was like, this isn't a game. This is boring. I'm done. I quit. I'm not doing it anymore. And so I thought all Final Fantasy games were like that. Turns out that no, some are like role-playing games, some are turn-based, some are JRPG. So, I mean, really depends on which one you're talking about. But 7 has always been one of the best ones, and now we get to play it in remastered glory. So, for that alone, I'm willing to give it a shot. So, but yeah, I do think Astrobot is behind, but if I were to pick a winner, I would pick Astrobot. It's a fun game. It's enjoyable, it's fun. It's simple and it's fun. And that's what I think its charm is. Plus, it's really cool. You get to collect Astrobots that look like other PlayStation characters. Some from pretty obscure stuff, but there is a Bloodborne Hunter Astrobot that you get to collect, and he gets to hang out at your home base, and he has his sword and his gun, and it's just a stupid little trophy thing, and I get to go, oh yeah, I love that game, but it's cool. I don't know how you can say that when they love the money that they got from Bloodborne and still get from Bloodborne. And well, it is kind of that baby that isn't really theirs. But I mean, From Software came in and did everything for it, and it's technically their IP, but they didn't really make it. They're more like the stepchild. They're the stepdad of that redhead. Uh, yeah. I made these ones. I made Astrobots. Look at Astrobot. Isn't it so great? Um, I mean, we can't deny that he has made more money for us than almost any other game ever. And we can't deny that he's super successful. And we can't deny that everybody not in the family loves him a lot. So we're still keeping him around. Um, yeah. Bye.